Whoa, it's episode 91. I'm so energized.
You hit that quick.
Yeah, I know. Despite the that's just, hey, don't worry about what that is. It's actually much better than you'll probably assume.
we were gonna, I don't know. He just moved the can that he was drinking.
All right. Listen, I was pounding down a Red Bull. I've got bags under my eyes that look like...
You look horrible.
Dude, I mean, this is just... You just come on... The first thing, too, before we went live, Brennon was like, you just look like shit, Josh.
I know.
Like, you just...
I know. He was like, oh, you look like a ghoul. You look ridiculous. You look like you got a skeleton costume
No, I said
on.
you look like the biggest Undertale fan ever. When the fucking Sans cosplay.
No, this is a limited edition piece of merch because I only wear free stuff that other people give me. I don't pay for my own.
Can you show your socks?
Wow.
Can you show your feet on stream?
My socks are Twitch.
Oh, you're... Wow. Oh, wow. Stolen Wi-Fi, never subbed, ad blocker. This guy, man.
Yeah, dude, times are rough out here. All right, we've got ourselves Douglas, EsportsDoug. Doug, are you aware that there is an organization called Doug Esports that is just the most cursed piece of nonsense on the internet?
Yeah, regrettably. And I only know this because they've tweeted at me a couple of times on Twitter. I have no idea what they are, have no affiliation. Unlike Bren Esports, who we still know there's something going on there. I have nothing to do with Doug Esports.
I mean, the profile picture, I first saw it and I thought, I looked at it really far away when it was linked and I thought it was like a dehydrated
man. Like, what is this?
I mean, that is a thing of nightmares.
Are you saying they're tweeting at you?
They have before, yes.
Yeah, we like to do little shout outs to small endemic esports organizations.
220 million Supermax. God, wow. The money is crazy for esports.
Oh Christ! Later on in this episode, we're gonna have Kaquka on as well to talk about some EMEA stuff. But we're gonna stay focused on the most clouted region right now. We're gonna talk APAC. No, we're doing North America. We're doing North America. But to start off with, they have announced the locations of Masters 2 champions for this year. They've said there's going to be live crowds returning. Poggers. Just a sick announcement, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, long
Did
time
they
coming.
specifically say live crowd returning, or they're hoping they're returning?
Their plan is live crowds, which means they are going to be live crowds unless something fucks it up. Which, listen, that could obviously happen.
Could happen.
That's definitely a possibility. And if there are no live crowds, we'll all be disappointed. But at the same time, we'll know that at least they were aiming for them.
At least they tried.
Yeah,
yeah.
Really
I mean, it's massive. Yeah, somebody in my chat was saying, why have they chosen Copenhagen? There's not even probably any Valorant fans in Denmark. Like, they just couldn't grasp it being a Central European location that people could travel to easily, and that only people from Denmark could attend. But no, it's going to be pretty sweet, honestly, if it all kicks off. Because I mean, I think we've had some crowd Valorant events, but it's been like tiny LANs.
I don't even know what that would be. I don't know.
It's been
which one?
I don't know. I'm just assuming they've had crowds at some of the smaller ones.
Right?
Say again?
Red Bull Campus Clutch had one, and I think Korea has had a couple.
Oh, yeah, Korea.
Yes, Korea. Yeah.
Korean events had some, actually. Yeah, they had a live crowd in that former Apex studio that... who owns that now? Afrika or something?
I thought Afrika bought it, but I don't remember because like it could be any of the member of like all the weird Korean org names, and I'm just like, what? Like, which one is it? I don't know. Hasn't Chinese Valorant been having a bunch of underground LAN events where whoever loses, they're summarily just like executed because they lost?
Jesus,
That's not what happens. That's not what happens. That's, even if it was an underground Valorant scene, why on earth would it be? Like, even if it was tied to a serious organized crime, they wouldn't just execute people.
The highest stakes imaginable. Like, actual fucking...
They don't want people to know. They don't want people to know about it. They don't want the government to know. Okay, it's tough stakes there.
Okay, then Istanbul for champions as well.
Yeah.
Turkey going crazy, actually. Just got the new agent. Now they got champions there. The Turkish crowd should be wild, I would imagine. I don't know of any other event, though, that's happened in Turkey that I'm aware of, anyway.
Like,
have any of the CS events or anything like that happened there? I don't recall seeing, like, a league event or a CS event or something like that.
Well, they've had regional CS there, or regional CS and regional league that have had events, but I don't know if like an international event, honestly. Yeah, I bet a mobile game has hosted something in Turkey. I'm sure a mobile game has.
I'm actually really glad that the announcement dropped when it did. Literally the day before, I'm streaming and you kind of get back into the swing of things, and the words almost come out of my mouth. I almost leaked the location of the last event on stream, and the words are coming out, and my brain goes, "Whoa, wait, hang on. You shouldn't say what's about to be said." Would have been a bloody disaster.
Yeah. No, it's horrible. I had to keep it hidden that I was in Reykjavik.
No, you did
for weeks.
You did
Weeks and weeks.
You in fact
and that
didn't
was
have to
ruined.
do that.
Everybody made a claim that they were staying at my grandmother's house. And
Lovely host,
Wait,
by the way.
we said your grandmother's house had like RFID key card chips and things. Because Josh was also so painfully trying to keep the facade up. So it was not good.
I hope in the future as well. I mean, there's people that don't realize like the logistics in place or like the things that need to happen to host events in specific locations. Because some people are like, oh my god, more events in like Europe / I guess, I mean, Turkey is technically in Europe and Asia, right? In terms of just the location of it. But the people will complain like, oh, there's no global events in Asia, for example. But
North America.
Or North America, but it comes down to ease of access for players from outside countries being able to get into it.
Yeah.
And COVID policies is a big one as well if they're trying to plan around live crowds. So that limits you in terms of your locations that you can do at the moment, which, I mean, yeah.
I'm going to assume that none of us are savvy enough to know whether this makes a difference to any Russian players, like, for example, Mech or,
I mean, Turkey... I imagine Russian players will be able to attend in Turkey. Because
what is that based on?
Because I don't think Turkey are applying as many sanctions to Russia.
Right. So okay. I'm just going to trust you there.
Yeah, but aren't Turkey still historically really pissed at Russia? Like overall, still, I'm fairly sure. Now we'll have to. I'm going to have to get like Noam Chomsky.
We need a little fact
of the geopolitics of this. But as far when I was last looking it up, it was. I mean, that was a while ago. It seemed like it was. That was my train of thought when it comes to the decision making for also having an event there. Maybe also partly, I think the biggest reason is the fan base is really sick and the crowds are probably going to be amazing, but it has that almost potential secondary advantage, I suppose, of hopefully not having the disruptions to Russian players trying to come in.
Potentially. I mean, if you look just at public policy, it doesn't look like Iceland would have an issue with that as well, but when you dig into it behind the scenes, it did. So it might not be something where it's publicly knowable. Let's move on, though, to honestly the biggest news of the week. Really, the biggest news of the week should have been that there are going to be live crowds. We will finally have a LAN where people can attend. That should be the big news of the week. But instead, the thing that broke everyone's brains was this Cloud9 and T1 trade where, for whatever reason, Cloud9 have been in the sales district, looking at their balance sheet, or as I think it was Cloud9 Jack said later, Xeta and Autumn wanted, in fact, to leave Cloud9 and go to T1. Like an incredibly unusual trade for anyone who's been living under a rock. C9 get rid of their coach, or C9's coach leaves and takes Xeta with him. And they're going to T1. T1 are not becoming a full Korean team, though. They are still going to be a mixed roster aiming to be in franchising in North America. And Cloud9 get Curry. And presumably a large wad of cash as well.
You would think so.
What the dickens is this?
It's a strange move because, I mean...
I want to start here, okay? Because it's such a big topic, it's hard to know exactly where to penetrate it. Why would Xeta and Autumn want to leave? Because that's what C9 Jack said. He said in a Reddit post on our... Oh, by the way, don't go to reddit.com/Cloud9. You need the R in there.
Why would you say that?
Because I went to reddit.com/Cloud9.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, Kurt. Seriously.
Don't do it. Seriously, Kurt. Don't do it. It's bad. Yeah. It's not bad.
It's not terrible, but it's not safe for normal consumption.
It's not safe for work.
No, it's not safe for work.
Yeah.
But anyway, reddit.com/r/Cloud9, Jack posted on there and said that it was like he implied it was the player coach's decision and that Cloud9 always take these things into account and try and facilitate it. So Xeta and Autumn wanted to leave. Why would they want to leave? Why at the end of the year when T1 are out completely would Xeta and Autumn want to go there? An open floor.
Vacation.
In NA.
Hey, they're just like, I'm just gonna chill, you know. You're just done, you know. It was a good year for us.
Yeah, I don't get it. I've tried doing the mental gymnastics. I initially thought it was something related to T1 wanting to become primarily and like compete in Korea, and then it got debunked by what they said afterwards. I genuinely don't get it. Cloud9 is maybe not at their peak, but they're still pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
For this change to happen at this point in time too. And from what I understand, it was supposed to happen last week. And it sounded like things maybe came in a bit too late. So again, the plot just thickens.
Yeah. Xeta wasn't even supposed to play the match that he played. So Cloud9 had a game against EG, presumably without scrimming as much, because you would imagine if Curry was trying to play that match, they would have been scrimming with him as well. And it was a last-minute decision that Xeta had to fill back in his old role. Kind of awkward. Kind of awkward situation as well for Xeta, I imagine. Yeah, although it doesn't seem like there's any bad blood there at all. It just seems like it was an amicable split. But that's what confuses me, because I don't understand the motivations at all. We really, if ever there was a time for a back chat, it would be with Xeta and Autumn right now. But alas, I'm stupid and didn't reach out.
Outside in, it looks like, I mean, from my perspective, the Cloud9 squad, when Xeta was on it, when Autumn was on it, they looked like a contender for a top spot in North America.
Yeah, they easily could have gone to Masters.
Easily could have gone to Masters. Looked
they finished in third place.
Spot. So it seems weird. So it can't be like, at least from the outside in, it can't be...
I mean, there is no world in which Xeta thinks he's got better chances of winning with T1.
That's what I mean. Like, it can't be like I don't think there's a chance we're going to win with Cloud9 this year. No. I don't think it's that. And so he's going to move to T1 for this long-term vision of the future, because they can't play this year in VCT.
What about this? Let me hit you with this one. Maybe we're looking at this trade too short-term, and it's actually a play for wider franchising. Could you imagine a scenario where T1 says, we actually need to build for franchising as soon as we get knocked out, right? As soon as we get knocked out, we need to start putting plans in place so that we are actually a good team in 2023. So they're going to assume that they're in North America. They already have connections, ties, whatever. They're a huge org. So they decide, they said this publicly, by the way. Joe Marsh, I believe it was, said this publicly, that they want somebody that has the ability to access talent pools in North America and Korea. So that was why they prized Autumn so heavily, is because with Autumn, they can drag players from NA and they can drag players from Korea and create something with players like Sire or players like, Bazi, who's played on, well, actually, Bazi's played on a mixed language team, but not an English-speaking team, so that's a bit weird. But, other players like that from Korea and put them with North America. So I can understand it from T1. Maybe T1 just threw a bag that was too big for Xeta and Autumn to say no. Do you think there's any world in which that occurs when you're a competitor?
Yes. I think that is actually, considering that I feel like across all of esports, C9 has definitely, their strategy has been consolidation and efficiency, I think, comparatively to a lot of orgs. It's very possible to me that T1 could just be like, here's a shit ton of money. Please help us. Please help us. Like, either that or maybe Xeta just thinks Steel's the smartest IGL still in Valorant. That's the other option as well. But I do feel like that's a very likely possibility. The franchising one also, I think, is a really good idea too, because considering that Nerd Street is like owned by the parent company that owns T1, right? It's like all that same division. Yeah. So they can feel pretty confident potentially in getting a franchising spot because of those connections. I feel like the rebuild actually, and potentially grabbing Korean talent or talent that's not an A-base, especially since T1 has so many roots in Korea, and they picked up a Korean head coach and a Korean star player, I would say, with Xeta. Like, that's pretty good. Like, that's actually a very I think it could be both, honestly. I think it's very likely both when you dig into it a little bit more.
So T1 is about to gut DRX's roster. Full on import all of them over. Combine them with what's there, and it's progress. It's success.
Can you? Well, the franchising rules in League, right, means you can only import 2 players into a region per team.
I don't know the exact rulings, but something like that.
Well, they also have like the ability. There's some loopholes because you can be like, essentially you can become like a native North American player while not actually being like originally from North America. You go in and like get your green card or like a permanent visa, and then like, or if you were like playing in NA for X number of years, you got grandfathered in as a North American player. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Xeta essentially is an NA player.
Yeah,
I mean,
NA
he's
player.
spent the majority of his time competing in North America. I can imagine him being considered both, depending on which way Riot decide to fall on the issue, which potentially opens them up to two other Korean players, or maybe only one other Korean player. But yeah, there's a decent chance there. Frankly, I think it makes a huge amount of sense for T1. The confusing part is Cloud9. So let's talk Cloud9 for a sec here.
Money, baby. Money, baby. I mean, okay, like, here's the train of thought I'm going down for T1 is we're all, I think, in agreement that it's like long-term franchise building plan. You're most likely in it. You're all owned by the parent company that also owns Nerd Street Gamers. Like, you've done all this work for the Valorant scene.
Yeah.
All this work, you're probably going to be in franchising. If you're not, then that's just... Riot have just absolutely shattered you out the door. Like, they have just ruined you, haven't they? They've just absolutely ruined you.
They're Brimstone Gaming instead of T1 in North America.
They have absolutely ruined you. But for T1, that makes complete sense. Like, they also probably want some structure at the top that is building this roster that is not going to be causing as many issues. Again, all of the whispers and rumors about the structure they've had prior in T1 haven't really...
Game of Thrones in the shadows.
Game of Thrones in the shadows.
David Denis has now been released,
Don't
by
know
the
all
way.
the details, but yeah, David Denis was released as well. He's gone from T1. So they want probably somebody to lead the build, the rebuild. And I could see a scenario where T1 reach out to C9 about grabbing Autumn, and they also inquire about any players that they might want to bring over as well from Cloud9.
Yeah.
And Autumn's probably speaking to Xeta and say, hey, do you want to come over here? And they've promised me the keys to the car. We're going to rebuild, and it's going to be a 6 team for the next year.
Yeah, I think that is the most likely thing for Xeta and Autumn is what does Volumel call it, Avast? The
mother duckling theory.
The mother duckling effect, where you take a coach and the players that they've previously coached just naturally move towards that team because they enjoy playing underneath that coach. They understand the structure, they understand the team vision philosophy that they're going to build. I can see this being a mother duckling kind of effect. But Cloud9 now have Curry, and people on Reddit are assuming Curry is going to be playing Viper for them, and that's why Vanity was playing KO. But Curry recently has been playing KO, Sky, Sage, stuff like that. He's actually been on that role, much more of a like frag heavy role. His stats have been nasty even when his team has been losing. But I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't been watching any T1 games because that team has sucked. And I just have watched the results and been like, why am I going to bother watching these ones? This team is not doing anything. So I have no input on how good he's looked at the moment. I just know there was a period of time where he did look pretty decent and he was IGLing and he looked solid.
Yeah, but even in his better times, would you say that he's a better pick than Xeta? Or would you play him over Xeta at any point? I think that's what's hard for me. Is like, yeah, even if Curry's playing well and he meshes in well, I'm just having a hard time understanding, unless it's the bag, like Bren said, why that is not an equal exchange, in my opinion.
I think if he wanted to leave as well, I know that, I mean, the players are, I think, pretty happy to play with Curry because apparently, I mean, I don't have a source for this, but Zeppo was saying that they were looking at a couple of players, including Curry was one of them out of 3 players to be his replacement.
He was saying this on stream, right?
Yeah, apparently he was saying this on stream. So, no source for it, though. No source.
I mean, the source would be a stream if you watched it. Or you just heard it through the fucking grapevine.
Yeah, I'm
Objection, hearsay.
I'm hearing it through the grapevine. All right, we're not doing a trial here. There's some pop culture reference there relating to
there is.
Johnny Depp.
You missed it, but it's all
there
good.
is, but there's all. I mean, in this case, there's theoretically could be shit in both beds in both these references.
Yeah, but yeah. I think the players are happy to play with Curry. I think Curry is. Listen, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Xeta, in my mind, is a better player than Curry, and I think just the Cloud9 roster had legs in terms of being able to be a top team in North America with Xeta in. But if the players are happy to play with Curry, and Curry has been putting up pretty good numbers as well recently, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to make out like it's the end of the world. I think this is a team that could still do bits. And it honestly gives me a bit more hope, given the fact that I watched them in their week 1 match, and I was thinking, this is kind of, at times it's a little bit iffy. You know, they're just about squeaking out a win. But now knowing with the power of hindsight that they were, not supposed to be playing with Xeta, and they almost probably haven't been scrimming.
Yeah,
as
it was
much.
like a pug kind of team at that point.
Yes, then
Not
that gives
really,
me a
but-
little bit more hope for the future of Cloud9, and I'm curious to see, which direction they'll move once Curry's in.
It's got to be the best time to lose somebody like Xeta. As Sova starts trending out of the meta,
Sure.
her pick rate was only like, 30% or something, maybe even less than that for North American group stage so far. So if you're planning to rework the roles anyway, and Xeta was going to get pushed on to playing a lot of Fade, or maybe playing a lot of, like Viper or Breach or something like that, now's the best time to make a shift like this and add Curry in while you're still figuring out all of the roles and how the meta actually affects you. And Cloud9 have never been a team that's had an issue with adjusting roles. So I really don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I'm just intrigued to see how good Curry actually looks. Oh, yeah, 30%, which, I mean, that is just so much lower than Sova has ever been. So it's not like Xeta would have even had the pocket pick that we all associate with him to fall back on much in stage 2.
Yeah, and also it makes sense from, I think as a final note, it definitely makes sense to me the more I've thought about it as a economics perspective for this team. Heading into a year where potential franchising is going to be available for C9, because you're assuming that C9 will probably get in the franchise as well, unless it's going to be Brimstone Gaming and Man I Love Fwogs and stuff like that, running the franchise system. It's probably going to be C9 and T1 will be in this franchise system. Selling Xeta and Autumn while their stocks are potentially at their peak.
Yeah.
And right before franchising, when overall C9 has still managed to scale down, I think, in terms of budget compared with a lot of teams, to be more efficient. One, also, it frees up a lot of resources potentially for you to change up your roster heading into a franchise system, by selling those stocks really, really high and be able to build maybe a little bit of a reserve, a little treasury amount ready to start making some moves potentially.
Yeah. Not going to lie, though, this trade did absolutely break my brain. It has taken me many days to figure out all of the ramifications of it, and I'm just excited to see them play at this point and see what they've put together. Let's talk more about franchising, though, because Team Solo Mid really wants some franchising, Mr. Daddy Wyatt. They put out a video where they were essentially... So, if you're not aware of what's been going on behind the scenes, 2023, the Valorant system is going into franchising. And that means that people have to submit applications to Riot. And Riot probably have some kind of communications line with many of these orgs already. But there is an official way of applying. And TSM said that they've done this. Many other orgs have already done this. TSM are the only one that put out a public-facing video about it, though, as well. Yeah. And in some sense, it's really good for fans to just know rather than assume, I suppose. And some of their TSM executives sat down and talked about it for a few minutes. But I think everyone who looked at this video thought there was probably some level of ulterior motive, essentially looking to harness the fan base against what's currently going on in terms of the directed allegations towards their CEO, who's currently under heavy fire for just bullying people in the workplace repeatedly over many years. So it does very much feel like, I mean, it's not him doing the video, is it? It's some other executives talking about it. It feels a bit odd.
Yeah. And somebody was in my chat and was saying don't you think it's really bad that teams that haven't won anything like T1 are probably going to get franchising over teams that are winning? But at the end of the day, the thing that I like most about this franchising system that Riot are doing is the fact that they can be very selective with their partners and teams. And if their teams or the orgs involved have a history of not taking care of players or mistreating players or not putting, the game first and just trying to coast with min salary rosters in other examples, then, they're not involved and they're not just taking up a spot in terms of loitering at the bottom of the pack. But it does add this weird power dynamic in it as well, where now, I mean, Riot do have all the say in terms of who's involved. And I just found it a little bit funny that TSM were putting out a public-facing video about it. It
also puts them in a weird position where Riot are moralizing quite a lot here too, where if they do accept TSM, it's going to be seen as we don't care too much about the person at the very top of it being an utter dickbag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see what I mean there? It's it's a weird spot for them to be in.
Well, especially
you
because
almost
TSM
have
have so
to.
much history.
You almost have to make a statement about Reggie before, if they were to get accepted. You have to address the elephant in the room, right? And there has to be some sort of something around how he's perceived, given them getting into the scene. But you're right, the timing feels weird. The all of it just feels. I don't like it.
Smart move from Reggie though, because I know he might not have been doing the video himself, but he might have been behind the camera saying, "Say the words, say the word." Allegedly, he could have been doing that. We have no knowledge, but hypothetically, and so, but I do think that, I mean, from a cynical business perspective, it's really smart. It really is, because essentially it lets you know that, like, all the fans know if they don't get into franchising, not that they didn't try. You know, it's not. It's just that's like they don't get to do it, and also it does create public pressure onto Riot. Like, you can leverage your position a bit to be like, "Hey, like, we applied. Everyone knows we applied. Like, what's going on? You're gonna reject us? We're the popular kid at the high school. You know, remember, you can't reject us." So
they really are. Like, I mean, they are massive. They're a huge organization. Like, I don't know, top 3 or something org in esports, and they're involved in the Riot ecosystem extremely heavily. I mean, built from the Riot ecosystem. So, yeah, it would be a bizarre one, but we'll see what happens with that. It was just a little amusing thing that popped up on the timeline. Let's dig into the matches and the meta a little bit more. We have a patch, 4.09. There are chamber nerfs. We already kind of discussed them last week as well, but let's talk about how they're actually going to apply when it comes to the meta. Do you see it making any difference in terms of how people are playing Chamber? Now that you've had some time to play on the patch, I was playing a bit of Chamber last night. Still felt pretty decent to me.
It seemed pretty good still. I mean, because if you read, it's a massive patch, by the way. I mean, there's 2 whole sections in the patch, essentially, with the Fade and then the Chamber. I found it odd to me that was the direction they went. I think still with the nerfs was that, like, okay, we feel like the trademark is the thing we want to attack for Chamber, which is like probably the most Sentinel-esque portion of his kit, versus, you know, maybe addressing some of the things that make him so incredibly multifaceted comparatively to other Sentinels, like his, you know, the TP, the ability to have, you know, his tour de force, like the headhunter, like any of the other aspects that make him, I feel like, a little bit more utilitarian than Sentinels. They decided to address the most Sentinel part of his kit. And arguably, I think even reducing the charge to 1 and increasing the cost, and then, you know, changing some of the audio stuff with it, is like, is that really a significant change so far from what I've seen? No, I don't think it is. Am I just lagging out of control, by the way? Am I just like full, like,
you really are.
1080, like 480p?
Well, we talked about this?
Yeah, we talked about this last week.
Well, that's on me.
But listen, I want to get your thought on it, Bren, because I was inting your Chamber games last night.
This is my fault. I put it in the runner show.
I didn't know. It's my fault. I didn't flag it either.
I didn't know we were looking at this last time. Fuck.
I wasn't on the last episode, so I
we should talk about this next week as well.
I'll be honest with you. It looks like a change that was, I think, mainly directed at pro play compared to ranked, which is interesting because in pro play, I'm going to be honest, in ranked, the way people play in ranked, in even like Diamond to Immortal, is like group up as 5 and rush an area, which means if your double trademarks that you've got to, you know, get passive information gain across the map by playing against a team that's slow playing and, you know, they're not pushing into an area. That's not a huge deal. It's not a huge deal at all. So when I look at this, I'm also paying attention to, like, in pro play, I've been paying attention in the matches in this week, in particular at the chambers and the trademarks and seeing what's going on. And it is going to make a pretty significant difference because, in particular, like split attack side, sometimes it can be really hard for people to attack on split attack side because chamber trademarks will be getting incredible value by just basically telling you the entire time that nobody's pushing through A, so you know you can lean your entire team over towards a B defensive setup. And there's multiple examples where it is really good in pro play, and limiting it to 1, and I don't know what else they did to nerf the other aspects of it.
I think that was just it.
They increased the cost.
Audio.
And they changed the audio.
Yeah, it limits that passive information gathering that you're going to be able to get, and ultimately, I think it does move him in a healthier direction for pro play, which is interesting. At the same time, his ult is still fucking crazy. It is wild. So.
It's if you think about how he works and how Jett works, they've wanted Jett to be more of like a. If you're thinking about them both on defense, Jett has to be more mobile now that she can't dash away everywhere. She can't just hold an angle for 45 seconds and then dash once she sees somebody. You have to be kind of prodding around and find those timings. That's now Chamber's niche. Chamber's niche is you have a trademark somewhere else on the map and you hold this angle like a human cypher cam that can kill people. That's how they're trying to split the two apart. Also, ranked is a fucking cesspit. I mean, just horrendous. I made Immortal 2 last night, and there are people in my games that still don't understand how the fucking economy works.
Yeah.
They don't understand when you need to buy and when you need to save. It's ludicrous.
Oh, guys, we're buying? We just won the pistol?
If you're an average Valorant player that's watching this show, you're in silver, maybe you're higher than average, and you're in gold. There's no hope. There's no hope. You will get better and you will rank up and you will still have the same people in your games inting. There's no hope. It doesn't get nicer. You might think, oh, it'll be more fun once I make it to Plat or Diamond. Hey, maybe I should buy a boosted account so I can play at my real. It's all shit. It's all shit. It's shit all the way up. Shit all the way down.
I played last night with somebody whose name was Fortnite World Champion in Korean, and they went shotgun only and only satcheled into people.
They were incredible, though.
They were amazing, but also they were popping off the entire. I mean, it was a young kid. It's summertime. They're just gaming in the early hours of the morning, and you could tell he'd had one too many fizzy pops. I mean, he was drinking the Coca-Colas. He was drinking whatever else. He was over-caffeinated, and we had two more teammates on our team. Were you in that game with me?
Yeah.
That was horrific. That was a horrific match. I don't want to get into detail about it because it's not even relevant to the podcast, but it was...
I like how half the time it just turns into bitching about ranked on this podcast. Like, it just turns into bitching about ranked half the time.
There was no communication, and it made me wonder if Riot had invented, like, if they were secretly on the side working on, like, machine learning NPCs to play in ranked, because they didn't say a word. They were just typing all the time, but their actions, their movements, it didn't explain why they were in my game. Like, and I don't know. It just didn't make sense.
So you've had horrible ranked experiences. Are you going to stop playing ranked?
No.
Are you going to play 10 games of ranked tonight?
Yeah.
it's a problem. All right, let's talk pro games. 100 Thieves. They got revenge against the Guard. They took them down. Big early upset, honestly, in North America. Doug, what you thinking about this game? Does it completely shatter your expectations for Group A? Does it make you worried about the Guard? What's the big takeaway here?
Yeah, I think two big takeaways. Part of me is really worried about the Guard. I expected some sort of an adjustment, and I didn't think they'd bounce back as easily as a lot of people would have liked given their performance in Reykjavik, but I didn't expect that. So there's cause for concern. Saya's still going to be Saya, which is nice, right? Like, that's going to deliver no matter what. But their next matchup is not much easier, right? Like, who do they have this week?
Ghost Gaming.
And yeah. Ghost is like, I feel like they're a wild card, man. I really don't know what you're going to get with Ghost. I could totally see a world in which they upset the Guard. So I do think there's reason for concern. On the other side, for 100 Thieves, very small sample size, but damn, dude, like, the project, the money ball approach, to however you want to talk about it, it's working. It looks really good. Yeah.
Connor, talk to me about 100 Thieves Guard.
I mean, I think the kind of the narrative so far is like when a lot of people saw the 100 Thieves rebuild, they were like, who are the megalols on this team? Where's my Hikos? Like where are all my clouded gamers, that used to be on this project? But legitimately, this team, the more we've seen of them, they're not just looking cohesive. They are looking, you can clearly see that they have skill. They've just been on teams that haven't necessarily had a ton of PR before. And I think that's when I watch 100 Thieves, I just see a pretty well coordinated team. And also in particular, Fracture went fucking demon mode. He could have been Fortnite world champion with his net packs. He could have been, because like the way they played it off the contact so often for 100 Thieves and letting Acend just zoom on in,
it was really
zoom
sick.
in. It was nice. It was cool. I think overall, like, the team is looking really, really cool. I think they're looking like a well polished project. And I'm starting to like 100 Thieves again. I'm starting to like this because I had checked out at 100 Thieves. There was like two teams I didn't want to talk about. It was FPX and it was 100 Thieves. And I'm kind of reinvested in both of these. And I sold low And now I'm selling low and I'm buying medium. I'm buying medium here.
You've made moderate losses on both of those.
I've made some moderate losses, but I'm coming back in. I'm interested in the projects, and I think that they've actually done a really good job of like organizing the comps too, making sure they're playing to their strengths on a lot of different maps, like letting Asuna be kind of that engage heavy player for them on Fracture. And then even when they went to bind, I think they had like a lot of real cool plays where they were like doing pincer moves from, actually that was guard doing pincer moves up from like short and to showers, and they would just like crunch it. I overall, I'm liking the looks. I don't know if anyone disagrees, but I think the looks are good.
No, I think 100 Thieves look pretty fabulous. It was the guard that I was really concerned with in this game because the map pool should be amazing for them. Fracture, bind, okay, maybe not Acend as much, but it's not like they've looked poor there. But they tried to make this shift of putting Saya onto Chamber and Jonah P on Raze, and I just don't think that's going to work for them. The stats are nasty for Saya, but on Fracture, he also got 7. I think he ended with like 17 kills, something like that, on Fracture. What was it? 19. He got 7 of those in the final 2 rounds, winning a 1v3, and then he had like another 1v4 or something that he almost won. So I guess maybe 6 out of the 19. So like a third of his kills came in the final 2 rounds, and it felt like to me, for the majority of the map, he wasn't able to get the same impact kills that he does when he's entering. And he's getting frags, but they're not the really important ones that turn the round around. He's getting like the trade kill or the cleanup kill that either his team has already won or lost at that point, and he's making a smaller difference. And Jonah P, to me, has been the weakest player on the squad throughout their run in Stage 1. Not that he's been terrible, but he's just been not the power player for them. And I don't see much future in this, even though it's extremely meta to be putting your Jett up player onto Chamber. I think they still haven't figured out how to make it work very well. Same issue that I saw with Fnatic later on, but we'll talk about that once we get to the EMEA segment. But I wasn't convinced, even though it might sound silly because he top fragged like big ACS in both of the games, but I was really missing that spearhead for the guard.
I think it takes, with the guard, what I've seen in the past at least. I remember when there was the last big meta shift that we had was Astra being nerfed, and Valen, I think, switching over to the Omen in some circumstances as well. It seemed like it took them a bit of time to catch up. Like they had that week, I think it was the week 5 group stage match.
Yeah, they lost to Cloud9.
Lost to Cloud9. And then they managed to come back in the end. But I think it's also probably compounded by the fact that these guys have been going so fucking hard in the boot camp non-stop for the first half of 2022. And they've been working together, driven for the goal of improvement and trying to get, essentially, I mean, the end goal for every team, every player is champs. But I think the losing in the way that they did at Reykjavik, you can be the most mentally resilient players in the world, but it's still going to affect you in some way or form. The fact that you went out in 2, you're going to feel like you could have potentially gone further, or, if part of your goal for going there was to get experience, you didn't really get that much because you only got the 2 matches. So I think that might play a part. I mean, obviously, I don't know for certain because I'm not inside the players' heads, but for most people, I think it would play a part in it. But I will say I still am holding out for the guard to make that sort of comeback, because I think they've shown before that when they do end up taking a bit of a knock because of a meta shift, it takes them a bit of time, but eventually they do get back on track pretty quickly.
We were talking about them being a top 3 team when we made our power rankings. We said they're probably not going to be number 1. I mean, obviously, Optic won the whole thing once they got to Reykjavik, so you wouldn't have them number 1 anyway. But we said, all right, they're probably on a hot streak, honeymoon period in Stage 1. They'll cool off a little bit, but they'll probably still be top 3. If they're getting overtaken by 100 Thieves already so early into this team's development, and holy shit, 100 Thieves are good and improving super fast. But it feels plausible that the guard could get overtaken by a team like Xeta as well. And at that point, you're slumping down into maybe 5th in North America. And you're still a good team, but other people are catching up and overtaking. Do you think it's likely that happens, Doug, or more likely that they rebound and find that form again?
I think the concern is super high. I really do. I think one of the keys to their success previously was Valence calling, and I didn't see a whole lot of that. I think Net also has kind of been inconsistent. He's had a ton going on. I don't know. I think we're about to learn a lot about Valen and MCE and his ability to lead this young team, because you're right. You start to look at a couple weeks, you easily see him down 1-1, maybe 0-2, start to rank him against the rest of North America, and it can easily get out of hand.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Ned's dad's a daft cunt.
Yeah,
he made a Twitter fucking account just to shit talk his son.
I mean,
that is just
like
full on
ACS too, or what,
full
like
on dickhead armchair analyst behavior, and also just dickhead father behavior.
Unreal
in general. I mean,
I feel for Net. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it just horrendous. I mean, Net has also said, don't go digging for it and harassing him either. He's just trying to block it and move on. But fuck me, what a mental thing to have to go through. And also, Net's talked about on interviews and stuff like that he's been going through a rough patch recently too, and just kind of focused 100% on this project. And yeah, his performance hasn't looked amazing, but that's so
mom.
cute. That's so damn cute.
Mom.
Yeah,
That's
his
funny.
mom. W mom.
yeah.
Actually,
Win
W mom. I think that's pretty. I think that's the big thing when we look at Guard here too, is that when you compare the rosters, like it's clear that they're, even before when Guard was at its peak, it's like it was definitely I feel like a function of like it being greater as a whole than the individual parts, honestly, when you looked at the roster. So that's really where the issues here for me when I look at them, is that it's because they still had cool ideas. They had cool ideas during this series too. Like specifically, we saw the clip of like they're trying to do the cool pincer move because they knew 100 Thieves were like having a lot of showers controls. They're like, okay, we're gonna try to hit showers really, the pincer move on bind, right? And they just kind of lose the gunfights. And they had some interesting ideas here. It's just they couldn't capitalize. They couldn't execute on any of them. And because personally, I think Josh, you said it best when I look at Guard for the future, is that 100 Thieves are really good right now, but they're still obviously improving. They're still building. They're like really young overall as a roster. And like watching this match too, none of the thing they did was like necessarily groundbreaking for the most part. Like the coolest play they did was like on Fracture, where they like had, I think they had someone like push their own, like they had someone push fucking like Bang's orbital strike. I think it was like Stellar Derek pushed his orbital strike to take a position. Like that was cool, but most of what they were doing was just strong fundamentals and just like especially on bind, just owning showers the whole time.
Yeah, strong fundamentals, good executes. It's just like the basics of very good team play. I keep thinking back. The stage 1 run from the Guard was powered by insane clutches from Saya, from Trent. Incredible duels being won by both of those players in particular too. And you're not always going to have that for a whole stage.
I want to add to this that I think with the power of hindsight, we're going to be looking at this match here, and 100 Thieves are going to end up at the top of their group, and this is going to make a bit more sense in the long term, because I think 100 Thieves played so fucking well. They are clearly going through a bit of a honeymoon period, but it's all just clicking, man. Yeah. They're thinking about each round as it comes up. They're trying to predict their opponents based on what ultimates they have, and also using their own ultimates and their utility to try and essentially, counter it in some way or form. That round was a great example of it, because they just knew that the pit was coming down. They saved the Brim ult, they saved the Molly. They can't plan with so little time. They were having multiple moments like that, but not even just that, just the fundies, bro, the fundies. We go crazy over the fundamentals all the time, but 100 Thieves were fucking on fire. I mean, I didn't even pull clips for this, but I'm pretty sure it was round 15 in the bind game, which is when their bonus was I'm just steamrolling over whoever grabbed clips for this. Was it?
It was me grabbing, but I didn't really grab that many clips here, because like the reality is like, you had these moments like Will where he just doesn't get cleared from a corner, but they just kind of outcompeted them at every angle. So like I didn't want to grab a bunch of clips because I didn't think they did anything groundbreaking. They just fucking were better.
Yeah,
they were just better.
It was the zero hesitation to make very intelligent decisions. Like the Guard holding really like they tried to adapt to these A hits that 100 Thieves are doing by taking the showers control and holding onto it like that. But they crunched them. They crunched them at multiple points. And I think this is all the makings of a fantastic team, and they really did play so well in this series. I would not be surprised to see 100 Thieves end up at the top of their group when we're looking at week 5. And I think looking back at this moment, we'll probably have a better outlook and kind of big picture approach. Right now, we're still, I think, in the mindset of 100 Thieves. Probably shouldn't have won this match. They should have been the underdogs in this, but they're also the new team. Honeymoon period, and also they have been making so many rapid improvements after every single loss.
Look at this setup as well. Like everything just transitions into a setup at all times, even when Saya player tries to clutch through that. And they have so much faith in Stella's calling. By the way, they're not even boot camping right now. That was them playing from their own homes. They're about to go and do another boot camp in Texas, which I think is only going to be beneficial for a team that's still building this out. They've just had such insanely rapid improvements. Let's talk next game that we wanted to discuss. Sentinels lost to LG. LG, they do it again. They take another win against Sentinels. They've got to be one of the teams that's won the most against them all time.
Yeah. I think it's like 4-2 all time against Sentinels, something like that. It's nutty.
I mean, Sentinels have also obviously been losing a lot recently, but LG as an org just seemed to always find Sentinels in the right position to deal them a loss. And this one was close. It really was. But if you have any hope for Sentinels making it out of the groups, LG might be one of the teams that you require them to beat. It's certainly one where you'd like them to beat at the very least. Mm-hmm. And this was happening even with Tens dropping, what was it? I mean,
Tens
20, it drops 26 and they lose.
And go to performance real quick. And then scroll down and then click on Tens 3K and just look, it just goes off the screen.
Yeah.
Just click on that. And just goes off the screen with the amount of 3Ks he got in this series. It's just absurd. I mean, the guy went fucking nuts. He went nuts in that game to drag it over the brink. Like, overall, I mean, just insane. But, okay, so I'm going to say this as well. Apologies to the visual viewers, anybody who's actually watching this alongside listening to it. But I was in charge of grabbing clips for this match. And as I was grabbing them, my PC restarted as I was putting it in a Discord message that I was editing. So I lost all the clips. But you can trust me that Sentinels, they're making mistakes. So you can trust me on that one. Incredible. I have no evidence to back it up, but they are.
Incredible. Well, one of the things that also struck me too is that Dapper looked in fantastic form during their open qualifier run. He really did. And then he got boomed in this game in opening duels. I mean, B-Dog just ate him up. And B-Dog in general ate most people up. I think Tens was about the only person that was able to go toe-to-toe with him. I can't remember exactly what the head-to-head looked like for B-Dog and some other people. There was like a couple of people on Sentinels that he was just snacking on. I think one of them was Dapper.
He went nuts.
But B-Dog is phenomenal. He really is. He just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, and I think LG are this team as well who... I mean, this is an opportunity for LG just to talk on them real quick. I know we're deviating away from the clout of this the meat and potatoes of this conversation.
Losing viewers.
Yeah, but they've always been such a, for me, I mean, I say this in the nicest way possible, they've just been kind of a boring team. They've just been sitting at that 8-5 spot is where I've always thought of them in my head. And they've, been capable of an upset here and there, but I've never really thought that they had legs as much. But I'd love for this to be the opportunity for them to really prove themselves. I mean, it was a close match against Sentinels. They definitely showcased that they've got some talent, which we already knew. I mean, B-Dog went nuts, man. He went absolutely nuts. But I mean, this group, I think, if you look at it overall, what is this group? Group A?
No, this one's group B. This is Group B.
Group B.
I mean, this is the one with Optic C9. Like, Sentinels need to be grabbing wins where they can because these teams are looking dangerous. That they're going to be going up
that's the other way to look at it. Is Sentinels? They're only going to be granted so many matchups where they should be expected to win. I think the next week matchup for Sentinels is against who is it?
We can look.
Right
EG.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's against EG.
And then here we go. And now you're looking at it like, okay, well, you've also got later on in the group stage, they have to play against Optic and Cloud9. So this needs to be a win against
FaZe,
EG,
and
man.
FaZe beat them recently too, right? So they're actually the underdogs in 3 out of 4 of these matches. And you could argue they're underdogs against EG as well.
The end of next week, we might be looking at literally the do or die moment.
Yeah.
Like from that point on. Like we'll know if Sentinels are essentially fighting for their playoff chances. If they get 2 losses, it then just becomes so much more difficult for them to try and battle back. I mean, it's troubling if you're a Sentinels fan, honestly, because it's a tragic way for this team, the top North American team of last year, to really go out like this. It just feels like they are faltering, withering away.
Yeah. I wonder at what point we start thinking about Sentinels more like we think about some of these other teams right now. Like how we think about Luminosity, for example, as a 8-5, or how we may think about an EG or a Ghost Gaming, because the truth is there's been such a long time with a lack of success. The adaptations that they've made don't seem to address the key problems that they have. So like how much longer are we going to look at them and go, yeah, but they're still Sentinels, right? Like At what point does that perception change?
It should have already changed, honestly. But the thing is, those memories of their peak live on in your head, right? And you keep thinking, oh, it's possible that they could return to that. But the game has improved so much since then. All of these teams they're playing against have improved massively since then. And they have not. They have not improved. In fact, they're playing some of the worst Valorant they've ever played, in my opinion. So, yeah, and they're getting outpaced by everybody around them. They still actually have some maps where they're having a level of success. Bind, they've been all right at, but is now looking like they should start deviating away from because there's too many teams that are better than them Bind in NA. But their Breeze isn't bad. Tens always goes fucking crazy on Breeze. And then their Iceboxes look fairly decent too, even though they were permering it previously. What else? Their Haven. They banned Haven in this series. They banned Haven. They could have had Haven map 3 instead of Fracture. They could have probably won.
I would argue that Haven's their best map too over Bind. The Bind stats are super inflated when you look at who their wins are up against. So I was shocked that Haven didn't make it through.
Mm-hmm.
They're trolling.
Yeah,
they're trolling, Doug. They're trolling.
Who's in charge of the map, Pipmans?
Rolkus. No, I don't know.
Put the blame on Rolkus.
I was got to be blame on Rolkus.
No, I don't know who did the map vetoes for this match, but they fucked up. I mean, it's sometimes you can be like, oh, who knows? You know, it was like a close pick and the team made their decision. But I think when you look at this, there's simply no world in which you ban Haven here. I don't know what it... Unless LG have been terrorizing everybody in scrims, there's just no reason not to try and push things towards it. Because LG are also good at Fracture. So Sentinels put themselves in a position where they're either playing Fracture or Icebox. Maybe they were hoping that it would go towards Icebox, but I don't know why they would assume that that's the case. I don't get it. Put LG in the tough position of having to pick Haven or Icebox. Maybe it would have gone towards Icebox instead, but fucking hell. Not a good look to begin with, because they're fumbling in the map veto as well. Mm-hmm. Much like Mech, when we talk about them later. Again, a Haven-based decision. Is there any more to be said here? I mean, Vanity said LG are a lock for playoffs. A lock. He said of those teams in Group B, they're a fucking lock. Do you agree with that take? Have you seen enough from LG? I know Van Silly was very high on him.
I think the thing about LG, because this roster's been together now, this iteration of it for a bit too. Overall, oh wait, Doug's gone.
Doug just slowly pieced out.
Wait, what?
You had a look on your face like you were pondering something very seriously.
That was like so Tim and Eric, what just happened. I just hear, oh no, and then he fades out of existence. Like, just realizes that his reality is a lie and then just disappears. Yeah, I think there's the roster after seeing them, because they've always been really close to being like really consistently good, you know? Like, even though they're boring, I feel like when I've watched them, I've never felt like time where I've watched LG in the recent iteration of this roster and be like, this team is doing poorly. I feel like this team has always been pretty solid for its existence so far. Yeah. And then now they're just starting to build that consistency to get up, because they have real fragging power. Like, they have fragging power to compete with the top level rosters with Mata and BDog, you know? Like, they have that power. So I think the thing that's boring about them is that they essentially have followed a basic, like, human trend line of improvement, where it takes a really long time and like slowly but gradually you get better, instead of just like this crazy fucking like asymptotic, like going up like, oh, we're really good now. Like the guard, you know, like everyone remembers the guard because they were suddenly amazing. No one's going to remember the dude that's been grinding away in the gym for like 20 years. And suddenly he's like, oh, I'm really fit now. You know, like no one's going to remember that. So yeah, I think that's kind of like
grinding in the gym.
He's grinded away. Yeah. He's just been grinded slowly but surely, but he's now at like 8% body fat.
A tip off point where suddenly your body wouldn't be in its prime anymore.
No, well, the thing is, he started grinding when he was like 15, so now he's like 35. so he's still like pretty young, you know. You can still see it.
Okay.
So overall, I think LG, they're actually, I don't think that's unfair. I feel a lot more confident about them than I do Sentinels right now. Honestly,
and also, as well, we keep using the term boring team to describe them, but they have some fucking incredible, explosive, individualistic moments where some of the players pop off. I think we just think of them as boring because they don't have as much clout.
No, I don't think it's that.
You don't think so?
No, I mean, I don't think... previously wasn't that interested in them in stage 1. Stage 2, I've seen enough from B-Dog where I get excited whenever he's on the server. But to me, it's more of it is more of what Connor was talking about. It's the slow, gradual improvement without making any roster moves and without taking any big scalps. I mean, they do keep beating Sentinels, and they had wins over, what was it, version 1 as well to knock them out. But they're opportunistic. They're like sharks. They smell blood in the water, they attack. They don't take down a big team at the peak of their success. They take down a big team when they're already fumbling a little bit. And so there's always a reason to be like not as high on LG as you might want to be. If they end up in this group taking down like a C9 or an Optic, then I'm going to be like, oh, whoa, okay, let's get going. And honestly, I think they could deal a serious upset to a C9 if they take him on early before Curry gets integrated really well.
They have good ideas too. I mean, it's not like it's overall like they have strong fundamentals, but they also have like really cool plays coming out on top of their frag. Like they're just overall solid. They're just they're solid. They're going to we're going to look away. They're still going to be in their gym on the treadmill, doing their usual cardio. They're still grinding away.
They are. They really are. Oh, God bless. Yeah, this Sentinels team, though, might very quickly be out of contention for 2022. And at that point, it becomes a buyer's market. There are going to be so many free agents out there. I think it's going to be intriguing to see what happens. Like if T1 are already starting to make moves for franchising, is anyone looking towards the Sentinels players and thinking they can still recover their careers? Let's talk about the next game, though. We had NRG playing against TSM. NRG yet to drop a map heading into this game throughout Stage 2 with their new roster since April, and they didn't drop one here either. Hayes' IGLing pulled through despite the fact he dropped a single frag in the first half of the map. But genuinely a really good game again by NRG. This one was close. It was a lot of fun.
It was actually kind of a banger, legitimately. And as they say, the decades of Hayes IGL experience. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, but like they're just like decades of being alive for Hayes. Like for some reason, the weirdest wording they had, but they actually looked really, really cool. And the Psalm look on Omen continues to look really interesting as well. Like when they're playing Psalm on Omen on Breeze, and like the way that he plays it, where he's kind of just TPing in off of like aggression from other points of the map.
Yeah,
it's treated like a
in
Jett
the same
dash.
way that you would play Jett.
Yeah,
like
it's really fucking cool. We have like a
burst.
clip, like where is it? I have a really fun clip where it's round 11, Kurt, where the Seekers come out, and then he just rotates around them and just TPs in off his team Seekers on top of I think it's on top of backside for A. I think maybe this might be a different clip I'm thinking of. Oh no, this is where he uses the Seekers and then he just TPs the other side as they re-clear and they just holds the choke and they don't clear him out. That's what it is. But it's he's doing smart shit. This is actually the completely wrong clip, not even close to being the right clip. In fact, not even close to being the right clip that I had in mind. But it was still good because they use the Seekers, they know they're here in caves, and he just repositions the other side after they cleared him because they'd used dart. They had darted and with the drone, and he just runs the other side and they don't clear him. So kind of a bold move from TSM to go on, but overall a great series. I think NRG, they continue to look good. They didn't drop a map in this series either. So.
They are exciting, I think, because they are incorporating new stuff like the fade, which I'm sure you've grabbed clips for because there was so many moments. But
yes,
they're doing it in. I've been watching some teams incorporate fade, and they've got a thing here or there, but ultimately sometimes it just comes down to the fade player just throwing everything at a site, just not really thinking about how they want to use it. They're just using everything. But NRG are pretty purposeful with the way that they're incorporating some of the cool shit that they're doing.
Oh, this is the one.
And the players all seem really comfortable. Yeah, this is what you were talking about before.
This is what I was talking about, where they had aggression from caves, and he comes out from halls and TPs on top of backside and just gets an immediate pick. He was doing shit like this all the time. And it was actually really cool to watch because it was almost never unsupported. It wasn't just some rando balls to the wall TP. They would drop a dart from the Sova. They'd be having, they'd be making sure that they'd be putting another utility out. Maybe Ethan do a flash, or they had Seekers. It was always supported the way they let him get in.
I thought that smoke was cap when I was casting as well, because I thought it was going to let Corey get out onto stairs, but he deliberately puts the smoke deeper into sight so that he can have Tex jump up into it and fight Corey from inside the smoke, which I just like. I really like the way that Som's thinking about playing Omen here, because it is a weird comp. I mean, we're seeing more zero duelist comps than ever before, and we also, out of the opportunities, there were 4 opportunities to pick Fade in this match, and 3 of the times it was picked. So, Doug, what do you think of the Fade? Do you think it's got sticking power?
No, I think she sucks so bad. I think she's horrible.
Really?
I just don't. Yeah, man. I don't envision. I have a really hard time understanding why you would run her over different initiatives.
Okay, but watch this clip. But watch this clip first, Doug. Watch this clip real quick. Watch this clip and tell me what you think after this one. They're pissed. Look at them. They're just. I mean, like this clip was actually just like this is the I watched. This is the ruiner. This is actually the ruiner when they were naded and they were caught by the seas. I was like, holy fuck! Like this is crazy.
No, there's just I think the hard time I have with her is she is not independent, and perhaps she's not supposed to be. But even her ultimate feels it cannot stand on its own. For it to really provide value, it has to be chained with other utility, which again just feels a little bit lackluster when you think that there are other initiators who have more damage, who have better information. Why? I mean, maybe you run her on maybe she's very map specific, like Split in particular. She seems to do okay with Raze, but across the board, if she's really just cheese, does that make her a good agent? I don't think so, man. I think they ran her as much as they did. Teams are running her as much as they are because she's new and she's sexy and exciting and whatever, but she's totally going to fall out of relevance unless something changes. Her kit feels like it lacks something.
You're really that low on her, huh? I actually felt like she kind of hit a Sova-esque niche with the way that teams were playing her and how they would use, like even on this map in particular, there's another clip, Kurt, where they had like I think it was round 4. On round 4, where they're using her haunt like the Sova dart, and you use it to just like throw it out, have a lineup, you get info off of it, and then you can combo her nade. Like it feels to me like it's Sova with a little bit of extra util. Like instead of damage, you have the slows. You have like extra infographics.
I think people are going to learn those lineups. I think at the moment people are getting more value out of the haunt than they will in the future, because people don't know the haunt lineups to be pre-aiming yet. You know, like when you're anchoring a site, sometimes you won't even bother looking at the choke point where the players are coming from. You're just literally looking behind you for where you know the recon dart is going to hit. I think there's going to be more of that. More of the counterplay is going to develop. But to me, the Seas still feels really powerful on maps with small choke points like Ascent. Any map where you could previously get value out of the Astra pull, like Ascent or Split, I think teams are still going to be able to get good value out of Seas. There were so many moments where it felt like NRG's comp was so hard to push through, because you had Raze Nade, you had Seas, you had the KO Fragment Grenade as well. So anytime they're trying to come in through a choke point, they're just getting hammered by this utility.
They comboed in B main like a lot, where they throw the Seas and the Raze Nade, and you would just immediately have control of B main because you simply have to fear it. You simply must fear.
I agree with your point.
Go ahead.
I do think I agree with your point in the essence of, I think a lot of the teams that we've watched so far though have been using it without too much depth. It's just been added into the composition, and they've been throwing a haunt and trying to get off these Seas combos. But in this matchup, I thought that NRG were doing like a really good job of making the most of her kit and really kind of like showcasing what she can do a lot of the time. So I mean, I agree, but I also kind of disagree at the same time. With just I do think she'll remain relevant, but it's like a knowledge thing and a time thing where teams will need time to play on her to really see her flourish.
I think that Seas being able to give you info, like it did just there, is mad powerful as well, because it actually allows you to clear corners. Because if it tethers someone, you just know they're there. You know they're there. You know they're blind. They can't hear you running up on them. You're almost guaranteed to be able to get the kill unless they have a teammate supporting them. And the Seas is much more difficult to counter. The Haunt, you can pre-aim the positions for. And so I do agree that the value of that is going to dip off over time. But I think the Seas should still maintain a lot of relevancy.
I think Prowler is also pretty baseline good too, because it's essentially just a dog, It's essentially just a dog. Like
it's not, it's a cat. I mean, you're
you're
literally wrong.
Okay, but the point being, the
Himbo,
function.
man.
The function. Okay, yes, I am wearing the himbo beanie, so like, yeah, that's fair. But like the function of it functions pretty much the same as that from Sky's kit.
I absolutely. You get more info from a Trailblazer than you do a Prowler. Right? Like
Yes.
fundamentally, you can
Sure.
see it. You can see if you see more than one player or not because you're not in Prowler's eyes. Like, yeah, Prowler's super tanky, and if you put it off of a trail, you get longer distance, but independently, it's super short, right? You're not getting as much value as you would otherwise. And I just go back to the fact that even her C's, Josh, you were saying you get info if she can clear corners. You know what else does that? A Sky Flash, right? Like, I just there are better options almost everywhere. And the haunt, I think you're right. It takes one bullet to clear out the haunt.
Yeah.
And it's massive, right? Like, if pro players are clearing out Sova darts, even if you know where the location is, right? Like, you're hitting a much smaller target. The haunt is really big. It's very weak. It's not as much consistent info. I'm just not sold, man.
Well, a lot of teams are playing it currently as well, so we'll see what the pick rate looks like over time, because we've definitely seen new agents take a ton of time to get integrated, but they end up being mega powerful, and we've seen the opposite as well, where teams play a fuck ton of them at the beginning, and then they drop off a cliff. So we'll see. For NRG and TSM, though, to just draw things back into the game a little bit before we move on, does this change your expectations of either of these two teams? Because I think we would have agreed that NRG were the favorites heading into this game. NRG are still yet to drop a map. Do you feel much more confident about NRG after this? Do you feel like it was good that TSM brought it super close? What are your big picture takeaways for NRG and TSM heading forwards into the rest of the group stage?
I think big takeaway for me is actually TSM, to be honest. NRG, we knew they were good last year. They had the upgrade with Ethan, and then we've seen their open run. We know they're good, but TSM honestly surprised me because I didn't really know what to expect, right? Like, how's Seven going to do? We haven't seen Guimon play a VCT match since LCQ. It's been
That's crazy.
long.
That is crazy,
right?
actually.
Like, and I was really curious to see how this project would come together. That was the bigger takeaway for me, to be honest. Like, TSM... they may be back.
Yeah, Guimon's been playing he was playing almost perma breach, and now he's presumably playing perma fade. Like, he's very much playing the weird stuff that isn't standard at the moment. One of my takeaways though is that Tex is better and better and better, and is finally in the form that we hoped he would be in when we first saw him appear on the scene playing Reyna. I mean, he dunked on Seven in this game. Dunked on him. And Seven's not bad. Seven's a proper up-and-coming, good, talented player. And Tex took him out back. And just, he went to the farm
What a
upstate.
southern, phrase. The southern phrase you just uttered there. Tex took him out back. It sounds like a sort of young adult novel you read where the kid had a sick dog or something. It sounds very where the red fern grows, that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, he was really, really fucking good. So I remember you were hammering on the broadcast the point of like, there was a time where in stage one, Tex was negative the whole stage. Like, you kept and then it became the whole stats discussion at that point. But yeah, it was really good.
Let's talk NA match predictions then. This, our final segment in North America. You put your money where your mouth is. Let's go. The first game, we've already talked about it in some kind of tangent. The Guard playing against Ghost Gaming. We said it's going to be a dangerous one, but where are we actually predicting this to go? It is... Ooh, Doug's taking a punt on Ghost. All right, Doug, sell me.
I think Nismo does it, man. Like, I think Nismo takes over the game. I really like Kaplan and what he's doing in his calling there. And there's just enough, right? Like, you're catching the Guard in like this weak, wounded state where they still haven't recovered from the hangover of Reykjavik. It's like the perfect storm. If they play week 6, I don't think I go this way. All like everything else constant. They play later on in this week 5, not week 6. Later on in the season, I don't know that I pick Ghost, but I think they're going to catch the Guard off at just the right time. I think
Nismo was playing like a maniac in their game as well. We didn't really discuss the Ghost match that they played this week, but it was a fairly close one against Xet, who are looking good themselves, and Nismo continues to impress. Yeah, I think this is going to be a bit dangerous, but it's going to give us more of an idea about the Guard. If they end up losing to Ghost, they're in a rough position where they might not even make playoffs at that point. Like, it's already starting to get that crazy because Group A is
the same
deadly.
Kind of stuff we're talking about with Sentinels if they lose their match against EG.
Yes,
like, as soon as you get those 2 losses in a row, it's It becomes tough. It becomes deadly. Children raised one.
Restaurants owned
one.
Dude, I hope he only has one kid. Because like they're putting in, the VCT's putting an age limit on what it counts to be like a child that's raised. He just let one of them go feral.
Yeah.
One of them's just running around the kitchen eating scraps.
Is it really feral if you're still indoors then? I don't know. Like maybe. I mean, I'm not sure what the definition is.
You could be feral, but occasionally allowed inside. Yeah.
Okay, I guess it depends on the ratio of how much the child's inside the house. See, that's a separate topic. So let's move on.
Do we know anything about the restaurant?
No, but me and Wyatt were talking about this. We need to make a Plat Chat content piece where we fly to, I think he's from Vancouver, is he? Maybe I'm wrong with that, but somewhere in Canada, and we need to go and eat at his restaurant.
Let's just go to Vancouver.
We need to take the group, fly them out, and go have a meal at Nismo's restaurant and patronize him. Not in the bad sense, but in terms of actually being patrons. Okay, TSM 100 Thieves is the next game that we've got coming up here. It is the big banger. And TSM have taken a lot of the recent games, but we're all going 100 Thieves on this one. They just look too clean, don't they?
Do. Honeymoon period. I mean, the discipline, all of it, the ideas they got coming into it. Mike's cooking stuff up. He's getting paid in orange chicken. Spoke to him about it. Literally, every time. Comes up with a new lineup, new little lineup. One little chicken. Little piece in your mouth. And they just look too clean.
Yeah. What's the TSM win condition? That Fade is actually super busted and 100 Thieves fall over themselves trying to deal with it or something?
Oh, I think they make role changes, and I think we see Guimon go back to more of what he knows off of initiators. But I still, even that having to go exceptionally well, I don't think 100 Thieves just look too clean. Like they're like checking off all the boxes.
Yep, every box. Let's move on to the next game then. This one might be a bit more interesting. Xeta plays NRG. NRG yet to drop a map in stage 2. Oh, and we're split 50-50. Doug and Connor have gone with NRG. I went back and forth on this one a little bit, but personally, the reason that I went with Xeta, I like the Cryo swap to Chamber. Cryo Chamber, Zekken playing the Jett and the Raze looked really good for them in the Ghost game. And I know that game was still close, and it's against Ghost, who aren't as good as NRG. But I think the setup, the meta understanding, having Def on the breach, like all of that stuff, from a conceptual point of view, seems really nice for Xeta.
I think they'll match up well against NRG in the sense that Xeta are very, from watching their Ghost game, they're just a standard team. They play very standard Valorant in the most, it sounds like I'm insulting them, but they're patient and they think about what their opponents might be doing at a given point in time. And if they give it enough prep, like now that they've seen what NRG have been doing across the board, like if they end up taking them on a map where they do end up playing a lot of the Fade, I think they're going to be more ready for it compared to what TSM were in the matchup that they just played.
I'm actually, I feel more heavily on energy just because I feel like right now I feel more confident in that they could get I like their reads. I like the way they're playing the game. They're playing like really dynamically with Som and how they like approach the maps and take map control. They're also really quick to understand. I noticed it pretty quickly when they were playing versus TSM, when a team is giving up, like when a team is clearly conditioning or like not fighting for areas of the map, and they exploit it pretty quickly. They turn it around, which I think is going to be, I don't think Xeta plays quite the same way, obviously, as TSM, but it's something that's obviously just good to have your back pocket. And finally, Xeta to me is now in the LG tier where they bore me. So that's also another reason. Xeta bores me. I'm actually moving LG above Xeta, and they're not boring to me anymore. So.
And Doug, NRG.
Yeah, I think the pieces are there. Look, you've got this like clump of players who we've looked at for a long time and gone, okay, how high is their peak? And they're all hitting it, right? Tex looks incredible. Som looks incredible. Hayes seems like he has been calling for 5 decades or whatever. And he's bringing all of that experience into having them not drop a single map, right? I do think they're going to drop a map here. I think it'll go 2-1, but I think the stocks are real high with energy right now.
Yeah, they definitely are. I'm so interested to see the Tex Cryo cells battle on Chamber. If Tex can outperform Cryo, whoa, where's the ceiling and what the hell was going on last stage? Because it's insane the bounce back he's had. Moving on to our next game, FaZe LG. This one, big game. actually important for the standings that are likely to happen. And again, we're split 50-50. LG in the middle with myself and Bren, FaZe on the outside with Doug and Connor. I'm not even sure who you would call the underdog in this game. Do you two feel like you're punting for the underdog, or do you feel like you're just going like FaZe are the favorites?
You want to go first, Connor?
I mean, to be honest, as the course of this day and before we headed into the episode has gone on, I've been like, maybe I should be voting for LG, but also at the same time, FaZe has looked so good from the match I've seen from them that I mean, I like what I've seen from them. I like if Baby still go in demon mode too. It just feels almost impossible to currently shut this team down, because also they're more dynamic even than just Baby going demon mode as well. Like they have that's great overall reads across the board still for FaZe.
That's my concern, and I know it was against Optic, and LG are not Optic. They really aren't. But FaZe did not have a Baby goes demon mode kind of game. If you look at how his performance played on the new Jett, it was 10 and 18. He didn't have that much impact. He got shut down very heavily. His cast was 52%. I mean, he's literally dying in rounds doing very little half the time. Just getting shut out of these games. Are LG going to be able to punish him to that degree? No, not even slightly, because we're talking Optic, the best team in the world right now. But I would have liked to see at least like glimmers of Baby playing like that, because it's not just that he played against Optic. He played on new Jett, and I still believe at some point this hot streak of Baby and Dicey is going to die off. Yeah. I just don't know when it's going to happen. So
that's how I feel about it, is the inconsistency. Yeah. I mean, I agree with your point.
But he has just been incredibly consistently dropping 30, and then this one
during
game he hasn't.
Quals. Yeah. And then the competition heats up as we get into the groups, and it becomes harder to have that kind of impact when teams are going to be ready for you, I think.
Is LG that much more dangerous than the teams that FaZe beat in open qualifiers? I can't exactly remember who they went through.
That's a fair question. I think we're talking about Baby too much, and we're not talking about Dicey enough.
Sure.
I think you've got the Bash Bros. You've got Dicey, or you have Baby and then you have like a slightly downgraded Baby in Dicey. It's kind of like having two B-dogs in a sense, right? Like, and I think the fun thing about FaZe is that they play to their strengths. They know they're not going to be the most fundamental. They're not going to default. They're not going to play for information. They know what they're good at, and they lean into that really hard. And I think that's what's gotten them to this point. Yeah, that first week was tough, but I think they match up really well against LG. Yeah, I'd probably take them any day of the week.
I mean, to be fair as well, to go against my own prediction, FaZe were playing with a lack of confidence in the opening against Optic. Like it always happens with the top teams. Like you go into that matchup and they have this fucking menacing aura that just makes you cower and forget to trade and like they have
they actually have Pokemon Intimidate.
Yeah, they were intimidated by Optic, and they weren't playing themselves. And I think they probably came off that series thinking, fuck, we took a while to warm up. And I don't think they'll do that against LG. I don't think LG have that intimidation factor.
No, I don't think they do. I think it really is just about whether or not Baby and Dicey turn up. And for Baby he's been consistent this whole stage, apart from one game against the best team in the world, and Dicey's been consistent even against the best team in the world. So, yeah, I might be overreacting to a single loss here, but I still think LG are a really good team. Even if Baby and Dicey were popping off, I still think it'd be a good game to watch. Let's move on to our next game, though. We, again, touched it tangentially. It's Evil Geniuses taking on Sentinels. And this is one where Sentinels are playing for their life, probably, in the playoffs. Bren's gone for EG.
Yes.
I still went for the punt on Sentinels here. What made you go for EG? They might even be the favorites. I mean, they qualified ahead of Sentinels.
I'm just a hater. I'm just a hater, man. I'm just a hater. I think, from what I saw of Sentinels, it feels like we're watching the end of their year in slow motion over the course of the groups, because as much as like you have the Breeze game where there were so many moments where Tens has to pull out miracles for them to grab rounds and wrangle it back, but there were moments where Sick is looking really uncomfortable on his new role, like he's almost having overheat moments. He's like TPing into random areas, and he's really trying to cook up something, I don't know, something for his editor to put on TikTok. And then there's missing moments when they're trying to take sites, for example. It's not as clean in comparison to other teams. I think there's it's prime for an EG to take this series here, especially when they've got the talent they've got. I mean, I could see it going their way, and I don't know. I'm just feeling the beginning of the end.
I would like to pose a question. If this is true that we see them losing to EG, there is a world there where you think that Sentinels may go 0-5. They're not going to beat Optic. Not going to beat Cloud9. What's left? FaZe?
Yeah. I mean, they already lost the FaZe. I think it's, if they lose to EG, it is a real world.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
This game is a must-win for them because the games simply don't get easier in their group. They just don't.
Nah, I mean, listen, TenZ and Dapper, I think, have been playing they've been playing life games at times. Honestly, I think Dapper's had a bit something to prove off the back of the tail end of 2021, and I mean, TenZ is always going to be good as well, but it just, I don't know, it just feels prime for EG to take it and upset the common narratives.
I do think, though, Sentinels probably would have won the LG game had they played the map pool better. And I think as long as they understand their map vetoes here, they're going to end up in a position where they're playing good maps against EG. Their map pools are pretty similar. EG like to ban Acend. That's perfect for Sentinels.
EG like to play Icebox.
They like to play. Both teams are actually undefeated on Breeze recently with their recent rosters. I think Sentinels are like 2-0. I think EG are like 5-0 or something on Breeze. Both with their purely just with their new rosters. So that's going to be a fun one. Again, you'll get to see TenZ like dropping 40 or whatever. I don't know whether they're going to be able to win it, but I'd like to hold out one last vestige of hope. And before I let the dream crumble away.
Sure. I'll be the hater.
Final game. Optic C9. Ultra Banger. The Titans. But also Cloud9 are playing with Curry. And instead of even talking about the pred here, how close is this game actually going to be? Do you think... Coming into this, I would have thought genuinely that Cloud9 could push them, could be a really good game, etc., etc. But also, I have no idea what to expect with Curry. I don't even know what roles they're going to be playing. I don't know if Curry's going to be playing Viper.
There's so much uncertainty that's been added into this, and I think Optic have come into week one looking so... I don't know. Like, they are driven, and they have not been letting off the gas at all. I mean, sometimes teams win a major event, and they back it off a little bit. They take things a little bit more loosely. No, Optic are still cooking stuff up. They're still popping off. Yay and Marv, they're still dropping like 40 frags between them on certain maps. Like, this team is looking unreal, and Cloud9 have now had that uncertainty added into their play with Curry coming in, and it's last minute, and they probably haven't been scrimming as much because, they've had to make this change on pretty late notice, and the roles might swap around. It's too much up in the air for me to take any punt on Cloud9.
I think the kicker too is to think about the fact that if things have gone on the way we think or suspect that they've gone on, they have been playing with Curry for a little while now, probably, right? Like,
yeah,
that kind of changes things. But I think you're right. Prior to the news that dropped the other night, I probably would have picked Cloud9, to be honest, over Optic, just because I think if they're going to drop a game, it's going to be in the group stages and not in playoffs. But with this change, yeah, Optic just look too good, man. They're getting better. Yeah. They're somehow getting better.
Yeah, I know they are. It's actually
they want to win
filthy.
champs. They want to win champs so bad. I just feel it. Like you just feel how the organization is poised, like how they talk about it. I just feel like the composure of this team is a team that wants to just win this year. Dude, they want to win everything.
It's actually incredible listening to or looking at Optic when they played at Masters 3 when they lost to Gambit, and then looking at how they performed. Did you guys watch the video of their comms against Loud at Reykjavik? It's like a 8-minute video or something like that that they posted on Twitter, probably on their YouTube as well. And FNS is going into the game and he's like, I feel super calm. We're not going to shout at them. We're not even going to get hyped when we win particularly. And there are some moments where they get excited. Someone wins a clutch. But for the most part, they are the most composed I've ever seen a team when they win a tournament like this. They just could feel, they knew, even though they came from the lower bracket, they fucking knew they were going to win that tournament. They just had confidence seeping in their bones. And I think they've completely flipped that mental barrier that was stopping them from being able to win in North America, from winning Masters 3 last year. All of those things, poof. It's like they've broken that mental barrier now, and they seem like they're it feels like they're destined to win here in stage 2 and actually take their first North American title away because they still haven't won domestically.
Yeah.
And they're in a spot to potentially be the first team to repeat ever.
Yeah.
Right on the international stage. That's nutty. Like Finesse, I know I was pretty high on him at Masters, but like you fully understand why his leadership, his calling has been out of control. And you're right, like Chet and Jovi and those guys, they're scheming up more in the lab than they had previously. Like it almost does feel like an inevitability at this point. I think the question is who will join them at Copenhagen at this point.
Sure, and yeah, who would beat them? Like who's the team?
Saying this after week 1 of the group.
After week 1, yeah.
But I mean, I agree with you. They look fucking sublime. They look so good.
Clip this and come back to it when Cloud9 win and Curry drops 40. Okay, that's what you have to do there. All right, that does it for North American talk. We're gonna thank Doug for his time and sub him out. We're gonna get in an EMEA guest. Thank you for joining us, Doug. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, fellas.
All right, now get out of here, you little scallywag. Hello, we got rid of Doug and we replaced him with somebody that knows Europe and could point to Copenhagen on a map. Just throwing shade at Doug for no good reason.
I'm sure Doug could find Copenhagen on a map, surely.
I'm not sure I could.
You what?
I'm joking.
Okay.
That came too quickly, kaquka. That came too quickly. I thought you would be for real.
Actually, where's Denmark?
No. Don't even do that.
No,
you've been to Denmark, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
I've
that
actually been
matters.
to Copenhagen. I know where Copenhagen is.
Bruh.
I took a train from Copenhagen.
He's going to replicate his
I know.
loss to me in GeoGuessr again. I was like, he's going to replicate his loss here.
Did I
live.
lose to you, GeoGuessr?
Yeah, because I got the most, or not GeoGuessr, like the country guesser, because I got the easiest countries. I got like
dude, that was
Russia and
actually fucking
China.
tough of me. Yeah, I remember that.
This is like a reference from 5 months ago that maybe
It
two
was-
of our
Do you
viewers
not
will remember.
remember? Do you not remember 5 months ago? Like any portion of
I
5
don't
months
remember
ago? Joe?
yesterday.
I don't remember yesterday. I don't remember 30 minutes ago. I don't remember what I ate for breakfast. I don't remember what I'm doing tomorrow.
Concerning. That's concerning.
I'm getting married tomorrow and I don't even know. Okay.
And you're here.
So we brought kaquka on. We're going to talk about EMEA. There was some crazy stuff that went down in EMEA this week as well. It was the first week of VCT, starting with Sliggy stepping down as head coach, no longer involved in the Liquid project, the project that he kind of began doing with Fish 123, the 123rd fish that Sliggy managed to catch. This didn't stop them playing weird comps. This was not particularly explained. He just said that he had a difference of perspective or like direction for the team overall, but it's a massive change, and he's an incredibly well-liked figure, despite the fact that he's on a team that plays weird comps that doesn't actually get great results. It's like all of the stuff where you'd normally think this coach is not doing what they're supposed to do, but actually people still super respect Sliggy and kind of what he's brought to the team. kaquka, what did you think about this news?
So the thing is, when we got the news, I directly just went to Scream and was like, okay, well, what is going on here? What is the inside of this? And basically after Masters 1, they had a chat. They thought that they were not seeing the game in the same way, that they didn't follow the same direction. So they decided to split in that sense, that Scream was going back to the IGLing. And also we know by what Link told us in the post-game interview that there is someone that is helping them, but is not someone that is going to necessarily be staying, but they don't want to say too much just yet.
What the mystery? What the enigma?
Yeah.
And he wasn't referring to Bacon, because Bacon, their analyst, is still staying on board with them, right? So he means
no, it was somebody else. It was somebody else. I think that the team right now, what they need is to go back to the early conversations on what they want to do. How do they see themselves as a team? Also, I don't know if you guys saw that Yampy said that he's probably going back to CS in October. So it's a little bit of a big question surrounding them, but I think like they want to do things their way and then find someone that wants to add to that vision of the game.
Yeah, Yampy's clip, I think, as well, was misinterpreted by a lot of the community. He was saying on stream that he wants to return to CS at some point, and the earliest he could do it is October, because that's when the season finishes. He wasn't indicating that he's like October's on his calendar
that's
and
what
he's
I
like,
thought,
go
but
back to CS.
everybody was like, no, he's going back. I was like, that makes no sense, especially with what we know about next year. Like, why would he say that right now? That means that he doesn't want to play anymore.
He has, however, indicated that he does want to go back to CS at some point, which already is like, bit of a weird like red flag thing heading into franchising or something like that. But like I said at the beginning, Liquid are the kind of team that has an astoundingly talented roster. When I watched their game this week, and we'll talk about their game later on, but the players are so fucking good, and yet they play bizarre Valorant. I mean, they just play bonkers Valorant, and I don't even just mean the comps. They don't even use their utility to help each other a lot of the time. They're just kind of flowing around, playing for themselves a lot. It's weird.
I mean, you can see it translated when you know that Yumpy is an amazing operator player, but he's rarely going to do it from a chamber or a Jett. He's always going to be on the Killjoy, the Omen. It's like a little bit of what the team needs, but also fixated to his needs of I'm good at this, so let's go with this. And for now, it's working for them, I guess. I told you, Josh. You remember? I heard that Scream was going to go on Raze, and I was like, I know it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. Finally did.
The problem with arguing with kaquka is she's always got the inside loop. She always knows the fucking gossip, the rumors, what's actually happening. So I'm sat there in the green room. I'm like, bro, there's no way Scream's going to play Raze. He doesn't play Raze. He's never played it before. Scream plays Raze. I'm like, I'm never going against what kaquka says ever again.
Saying it, everybody was saying he plays with such a low sense. How is the ultimate, the Satcheling going to go? And he actually did pretty well. So I probably would like to talk to him about it.
Well. Overall, though, as well, you would have the large community narrative was Sliggy invents these comps, and it's weird as fuck. But Sliggy isn't with them, and
they're still playing
still playing weird comps.
Yeah.
So what does that indicate for the future? I mean, if they had a different direction, was Sliggy trying to tell them, guys, please, just for fuck's sake, let's just play some meta stuff. Like, please, can we just play some normal comps? We win when we play normal comps. Like, did you see how well we did at Reykjavik? We did kind of well, right, guys? Like, let's just play some normal shit. And they're like, no, we really like double smokes.
There's a lot
is that what's happening?
Info as well, though. But Sliggy's spoke in the past when the team played some really cap comps. And he was saying, some people felt really strongly about I remember like one of the earlier bind comps that they played, and it just looked like it had no legs at all. And it didn't because they lost. But it's stuff like that I think he gave. I imagine just over time, if you give, you want to put trust in your teammates or in your players to come up with ideas that they feel confident in as well to carry forwards. But at some point, if the overall philosophy of the direction you think the game might go into or the way you think Valorant should be played is different, and you're I guess having a constant uphill battle to try and argue your point to your players. At that point, it's like it's not really agreeable.
Best to amicably split. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you think about Scream IGLing though as well? If we're not giving credit to the shadowy figure pulling the strings behind the scenes like the fucking Wizard of Oz,
is that?
if we ignore the Game of Thrones, oh my god, it's David Denis, isn't it? It's fucking David Denis. He's just left T1. He's
wormed his way into fucking Liquid. And
that can't be possible because I know David Denis is going to be like on a stage somewhere at like a financial conference in a black shirt, a black turtleneck, and he's going to be. That's what it looks like he needs to do next, is doing some sort of like Steve Jobs type of thing.
Dude, he's an incredible human. Okay, if we ignore the shadowy figure in the back, ostensibly the direction of this team is now going to be led by Scream. He's IGLing the team. He's not done a ton of IGLing before. He did do the majority of the calling for them at Reykjavik, but he's not an IGL historically. He's a star player. What do you think about that moving forwards? Is that the right person to be leading the team?
So I think that especially in Liquid, there has never been like a particular leader that everybody follows. I think that is more of like a shared role. It has been in the past, and I don't think that they even had that figured out. I think that mostly the comparison between Sliggy being in and not, it's that he probably brought a general idea to the team of what he wanted to do, the composition that he wanted or saw working on a map. And then he told the players, okay, who's going to be doing that? I think that you will fit here, you will fit here. So they've got like glimpses of probably what they saw that was good on the maps. And now they're just going in whatever they think it's going to work, which for now it's working and it's adapt to the patches. I don't think the IGLing is going to be that big of an issue because for them it literally doesn't seem to matter at all who's the one making the big decision.
That seems worrying.
It is long term it is, but maybe if they get another coach that sees things the way they do, it could lead to something very good.
I don't know anyone who sees the game the way that they do.
Very particular. Put the Liquid Valorant
No, I played
glasses on.
similar comps actually when I was
But
playing ranked
it's a bad
in
sign
EMEA.
to Overwatch, I was going to say, to Valorant, if a team that has not such fixated roles, so that actually has a general strong idea of what they want to do and how they want to do it. If you just have 5-star players that can do anything and you don't need anything else, what does it say about the other teams? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I think the theoretical value of how Liquid have approached the game makes a lot of sense. It's just how they actually translate it to results a lot of the time. But yeah, like I said, we'll talk more specifics about their game a little later on, but wanted to recap some other major news. And this one might have slid under the radar. It's a fairly serious topic. The Turkish cyber police are breaking people's doors down and have detained 18 people in a raid related to the Twitch fraud, which was happening with various large Turkish Valorant streamers. If you remember, there was drama around Sentinels, who had a very, very small involvement in it, but his brother had a very large involvement in it.
This is fucking wild.
Yeah,
and just to clarify, these are the real. They're not breaking down the metaverse doors with the cyber police. These are the real doors.
No, these are the real doors.
Real doors.
Yeah, and this was.
Could you imagine that we're just watching this and seeing it appears?
Dude, I mean,
he was in boot camp. That's why he's not there.
There is no indication. There is no indication that anything has been that CNED or his brother or anything like that is involved. But there was involvement in the original thing, right? We're just not saying that he was. They haven't released any names of anybody that's been detained in this first one, but they're saying there was a recent operation around this. Cybercrime units based in Istanbul, and in 8 other cities, they were detained Tuesday in simultaneous raids so that they couldn't, get away. Taking it incredibly seriously by the look of it, even though they're slightly delayed. I think news came out at the beginning in December. It was right before Champs. I remember the news was first dropping. And here it just gives a recap of what happened, which, in case you've forgotten, was people stealing credit cards and then donating those bits to large Turkish Twitch streamers and saying the Twitch streamers had to give them like 70%, 50%, whatever they had negotiated back to the person that was involved in the organized crime, which essentially this is. So, yeah, a very serious case that rocked Twitch Turkey. Didn't particularly get much attention at the time, even though there were multiple large streamers and pro players involved, and just kind of quietly got slipped under the rug. But now the people's doors are getting broken in. Possibly not the streamers, maybe the people that were involved in the organizational crime aspect of it, but still a pretty fucking big story that has the potential to rattle Turkey right as we gear up towards Champions being in Istanbul.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of controversy, type of stuff with esports lately, around the tax shooter side. Because didn't Antwerp, there was a bunch of coaches that were banned from ESIC finally.
Yes.
ESIC finally said something. So
well, there was another wave. There was another wave of coach bans. Yeah. And
so
actually, just recently as well, one of the players that was involved in the major right now, Hobbit, has been implicated in a Kazakhstani match fixing debacle from 7 years ago, but they're finally. News has come out about that. So yeah, if you live in your naive little world just assuming that esports is just people having fun playing video games, no, anytime there is a lot of money involved and not much legislation, jurisdiction, oversight, regulation, anytime you have those two mixed together, there will be fuck tons of crime and unethical practices, and it's just whether or not people choose to shine a light on it. So yeah, there's a nice light way to begin the EMEA topics, huh?
Yeah. I'm curious on the Riot response to it as well, because I know that... Am I making this up, or was it just something that I came up with on my own? Sometimes I have ideas in my head of stuff that was said, and I'm like, did I make it up? Did I dream this?
Share it.
Source, I dreamt
that's what I mean. The source, did I dream it? I dreamt it up. Am I crazy? Did Riot say they were going to take action once Twitch stepped forwards?
Riot Turkey said they weren't able to act until Twitch actually gave them more information on, where the money had come from, and essentially giving them proof or at least enough evidence to actually enact on. But in fact, this has just been taken, way further beyond that. And it's now just
literal prison time for the people involved who were heavily involved with it.
I'm sure not everybody, because the way that these work is normally the police don't really give a fuck about the people at the very bottom of the chain. They're aiming for the people
at the top,
higher up. But yeah, this was the announcement from Riot Turkey. We're aware of the ongoing situation, following closely. This was from December, remember. Due to the sensitivity, we can only decide on any actions based on necessary investigations from relevant authorities. We haven't taken any action yet or shared any information around our plans. Maybe they will after this, but honestly, if it's a criminal issue, then it'll get resolved within the courts in Turkey, presumably.
Yeah.
But I still feel like it would have been reasonable for, some of these people, including CNED, who was involved at a small level, to face some kind of repercussions for this, because there were literally zero consequences. He went on and just won champions, which is fucking bonkers. Just commit fraud and win champions, by the way. That's cool.
That's girl bossing at its finest right there. That's girl bossing at its finest. By the way, this is unrelated. God, this cat will get out of the way. So unrelated to this, actually related to this is, does Twitch just get to keep all the laundered bit money, or are they returning it?
Don't ask questions.
Yeah, that's my question, because
Ask
if they're
the legal team,
and if they're like, I'm assuming that maybe we'll get disentangled in court once they learn the total numbers, I imagine, or something. But like, I'm just wondering, is Twitch in the meantime just like, so they laundered all this money through Twitch, and Twitch takes a cut to the bits. Does Twitch just keep all the laundered money?
Yeah,
like what's going on with that?
Unless they could prove that Twitch in some way was involved,
Knew about it. Yeah, I mean,
then,
that's the thing, right? So like, honestly.
I assume so.
I mean, what bigger racket than organized crime than Twitch taking bit money and subs, Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, as a Twitch streamer, I agree. Let's talk about Acend, though, because they showcased a new roster. They had previously gotten rid of Keyless, they got rid of Bone Cold, and they're now playing with Vac and Monster. It's an insanely skilled roster, unbelievably skilled. They have cut the 2 players that were performing the least on their squad, and they've replaced them with some big fraggers, big heavy hitters, adjusted the roles a little bit. They also adjusted some of their comps. CNED was playing Reyna on Icebox. And
we didn't get to see a lot of Jett on Icebox.
No,
At
not
all.
particularly.
What I really liked about this encounter is that everybody was performing to a degree. Oglu, or OG London United, was not trying the best but not achieving much. What I do like is that when you have a 2-0 where you see, I think there was no aces and maybe 1 4K where everybody's performing, that is a good matchup.
Yeah, I was watching I watched this game back this morning. And the Icebox game, I was kind of confused by, because the comp that, I don't know, running the Reyna, it feels like you shouldn't have a leg to stand on when it comes to any sort of oomph with your attack side. And a lot of these rounds just came down to Acend holding control of an area and taking favorable fights by them getting peaked. Like instances like this where they have to contest it, they're trying to hold crosses. I mean, OG London United had a couple of moments where they were doing pretty well with it, but it feels like they got away with murder sometimes with the attack side, just in the fact that, I mean, CNED's such a talented player that he's able to just brute force his way through sometimes.
I mean, he is insanely talented. And also, I don't think you really need as much umph on your attack sides of Icebox. You don't need to get deep into sites on a...
Oh, they needed to.
Huh?
They needed to. It's not only that they were not playing against the Sage. You also need to think that Oglu was using Fade. And of course, it's the first test that they have in an official. So Acend basically decided that instead of giving them the chance to actually use the Fade to their advantage, they were just going to crush onto them. And you saw them just taking sides and just pushing over and over at weird timing. So it was pretty cool to see.
This moment I highlighted because literally Vac just didn't get to play the game. He got solo ulted. There's a prowler in his face.
Yeah,
he
but if you think about it, it's literally a 1v1 where Fade uses all her utility at once because she literally had no chance of using it before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. They weren't particularly proactive on the Icebox. So that was a weird one to watch. But the split game was, I don't know. I thought the split game was really fucking sick, actually.
Well, split, they go back to their normal composition,
exactly,
right?
And then you start to see
it's the most Barry basic
giants.
comp ever, but it's not Bone Cold with the one ways. It's not Bone Cold, King of B main, Emperor of one ways.
OG did a good job of having like essentially ideas or defensive setups to disrupt what might be happening. And again, like them running the chamber on the defense side, they had so much passive information that they knew. And a lot of these attack rounds from Acend, they also Acend kind of like. They kind of beefed a little bit because they forced on round 2 and then lost it, so they just set their economy back miles. But yeah, overall, I was really impressed. I was impressed with OG's defense side and just them being so aware of what the game plan was for Acend on most of the times and shutting this down with these crossfires, these setups. But then when the side swapped around, I was like, oh boy, just watching it slowly slip out of control. Because
what did this end up being? Was it like 9-3 or something the first half? 8-4? I can't remember.
It was 8-4.
No, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fairly dominant like defense side.
Yeah, it was
for both teams.
8-4. It was 8-4.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Acend feel like they haven't really dropped a beat in terms of their defense side, even with their new roster changes. What do you think about the ceiling for this team, kaquka? Where are they looking at with this new roster?
So the thing is, for me, with roster changes, it's a little bit like stock market. Okay, you invest what you're willing to lose, and in the side of Acend, is like you know that your IGL and is not top level. You want to get rid of it, and you know that Keyless was not shooting as hard as he was before. You need a little bit more of firepower and control, especially knowing how the meta is evolving and how flexible now you need players to be. So I think that Vac and Monster are great additions. Monster is a monster. He's a beast. He's very young, but he played in London United back when he was an international squad. He played in Heretics and Giants. He's come with a lot of experience and he's very hardworking and he shoots very hard. In this map in particular, we sometimes saw him like completely taking a charge of one side by himself and getting like 3 kills just off the bat, just completely easily. And Vac really suits the team. Like the Cullen has been clean, and even though this attack was not the best, I think that it has a lot of potential. Definitely, I think that probably Acend should have made the changes earlier, but I think it's also a difficult situation when you're winning and you're just literally out of champions, and to say, hey, we can actually get better. Because how do you tell your players, hey, you just won, you're literally world champions, but you're not good enough?
I mean, they nearly did though, right? Like their contracts had expired at the end of the year, and they were thinking about making some adjustments then. I think CNED was notably shopping around too. And at that point, I was talking to somebody involved in Acend, and they said that Zeke has actually been IGLing for a while. So Bonecold was not IGLing for stage 1. That was Zeke, and he was obviously going through some like rough mental stuff as well at the time, which he has now said he's doing a lot better with. So you would expect that to, naturally improve the way that this team is going to be playing too. I was super high on this team heading in. I was like, oh damn, they're gonna be like honeymoon period, hitting every shot, playing with a ton of confidence. I'm not really convinced after this match that my stocks were well placed in Acend being like a lock for playoffs. I think I had them, like ranked at 3rd or something.
Okay, but you need to also think about the other results though.
Sure.
Because there were a lot of surprises.
There are results all over the place, so it's very possible still for Acend, and they got a good win here to start things off.
I think they literally go harder and harder every week, and they end up facing up against FPX. Like they have like the least strong team, the weakest team on his group, to call it some way, and they just keep ascending.
Yeah.
At least Zeke was good too. I mean, you can definitely feel like he's out of that rough mental patch, because I feel like he had a pretty good series.
Farming in this.
Yeah, he had a great series. So I mean, like, but I'm also not like sold on Acend yet, because I pretty much watched 2/3 of both the maps. So I'm missing 1/3 of each map, because for time reasons I couldn't watch like all the maps right before. So I've seen 2/3 of map 1, 2/3 of map 2. So I've seen the majority of the series. And I'm still not. So maybe those thirds, just to finish the maps ahead of time, just so I knew what I was talking about. Like at least I make some confidence. Otherwise, I'll just be going in blind.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also not completely committing into the Acend stocks yet.
But this was honestly a normal beginning to the week of EMEA, because it got crazier from here, to be honest. Acend are expected to win against OG London United. The next game that we had that I wanted to talk about was Fnatic playing against FPX. You got just an immediate ultra game. And then, what? We allowed Bren to make the topics this week. What is this?
Dumb, stupid, ultra crazy Griddy edition with Alfajer.
What is Griddy edition?
I don't know. But the Zoomers keep talking about the Griddy. Do the Griddy. Fortnite
so
moves.
Kurt knows what the Griddy is, though.
I don't know what it is, but apparently it's like a dance, Kurt was saying. Kurt's the oldest out of all of us. That's the Griddy.
Oh, now you have to do it. Now you have to do it, Bren.
Yeah, you have to do
Josh,
it.
You should do it.
I don't understand even. Wow. I don't even understand what's going on. Yeah, I know. We really do need
you have
Bala.
to shuffle. You have to
he was
shuffle
so
your
close.
Feet. And Zeppa, if you find Zeppa he did the Griddy, actually. Now that I know what it's called, he did the Griddy. And you can look for that for the visual representation. It's very good. But it's kind of you're shuffling forward, and then you put the eyeglasses on after you shuffle forward.
This is the origination of the Griddy.
This is the origination.
That
We're all just
Yeah, I
sitting
don't
in
look. I don't
silence
look that
watching.
cool.
this
Just
took the
watching in
world by
silence.
storm.
You know, sometimes I don't understand humanity.
Yeah.
This is one of these.
I mean, I'm
moments.
Spanish. It's literally the first time that I see anything like this.
Okay, all right. So anyway, getting back onto the fucking match. Fnatic go dumb, stupid, ultra crazy, Griddy edition with Alfajer. I mean, Alfajer was a new edition that we assumed would be playing in Magnum's position, playing chamber, that kind of stuff for them, and having a huge impact there. Instead, they've moved Durka into the chamber role, and Alfajer played Raze for them on Fracture, and then he played, he did play the Sentinel for them on Acend, but they were on Icebox because they were playing double Sentinel. They had taken G2's comp, but he is.
Truthfully, if you really consider Sage, I don't know how much you consider Sage a Sentinel here.
Sure, like a super defense-sided comp, but Alfajer, it looks like, is going to be their entry player because Durka isn't doing that at the moment. I mean, I don't know whether he'll play Jett. I don't know whether they even want Jett in the future. Yeah. But Alfajer went fucking crazy.
And how old is he? It's like
12.
16. He's the youngest player that we have.
Yeah, that is madness.
He's
That's
absolutely. He
to,
played with.
to start off with more than
outrageous confidence.
400 ACS on your first map. The way that he was doing it, it was insane to watch. He literally could not stop.
But I mean, when you watch this first map, by the way, that player looks like Bren.
A little bit.
Sugetsu?
Also, yeah, a little bit.
what?
Yeah.
Sugetsu looks like Bren.
They
Get it
look
back.
nothing
Get it
alike.
back a bit. Get it back a bit, and pause it on that photo.
Right there. There it is.
Sugetsu.
Really?
They
I think
they
it
look
looks like-
nothing alike. Nothing
I
alike.
don't
I mean,
Nothing
he doesn't-
alike?
No, he's got the mid hair
no.
part. He's got the mid hair part.
It's
a
the
little
same
bit.
facial shape. And you've even got the same strand of hair. That's
Your eyes?
No,
I mean, yeah,
you do actually.
a little bit. Yeah,
Dude,
see,
it's
I mean,
the same human.
he also kind of looks a little sad too. Like Bren
Yeah.
always looks a little sad sometimes. Like he's pondering
What you
life.
said? What?
Bren, you always look like you're so filled with whimsy, but always sometimes when you're at rest, like when you've stopped moving, you look a little sad. Like you've seen something you shouldn't have seen. You know,
When you rest, the darkness comes out.
the darkness comes out
Start
of you.
fighting my demons. Start
Yeah.
reflecting on it.
So this first map, though, the first 8 rounds are utter papega, utter outrageous papegery all over the place. And Alfajer is just the only player in the server that's doing anything, and he's going
actually in the server, yeah.
stupid, ultra dumb hard. I mean, Alfajer won them the pistol, won them round 2, won them round 4. I mean, he just went crazy.
He had like 4 showstoppers in like 6
Round 2, he used
or
the
something.
showstopper.
It was
Round
actually
2.
dumb.
Yeah, round
Yeah.
2. But
Yeah.
also, if you look at FPX's comp, right, while we're just watching
The first
Alfajer
Euro
pop
that
off,
we saw.
I mean, genuinely,
This year.
I don't even know whether you need to even click on the links, Kurt, because it's actually just the first 4 rounds are insane. But while you're watching Alfajer go crazy, think a little bit about FPX, because FPX won stage 1 in EMEA, and now they're coming out here playing a Yoru comp on Fracture. And while they had some really good ideas, both teams, in fact, had really good ideas here on Fracture, but they also made so many insane mistakes that were just all over the place. It was a very chaotic, mixed bag of a map where you had awesome, really coordinated set play ideas, and then horrendous individual mistakes, and then also just Alfajer popping off the entire time. How does that showstopper not get a kill, by the way? No idea.
Yeah, it's broken. The
For
ult is
example,
broken.
if you just want to move ahead here to round 4, Kurt, because you're going to watch Fnatic go on a bridge crunch, okay? Classic good bridge crunch, all right? It's looking good. They got Alfajer involved. He goes crazy. They lose this round. So Fnatic are putting huge amounts of pressure on FPX. Flash, these guys are contacting up through Arcade. It's crazy. Artist, he's holding on for his life here. Fnatic are pushing them. By the way, FPX forced round 2. So, they've already set themselves up for a bad economy here. Angel, the FPX wins this 2v4 with Angel just throwing Yoru utility out. He throws
this
out
TP
a,
is so cool.
he throws out a
this is-
flash
this
that
is
doesn't
cool.
catch a thing because he throws it in the wrong place. Then he throws a teleport, which he fakes, and for whatever reason, Mystic's brain just overheats.
Because of the smoke the Shao puts.
Yeah, so he does the he does the fake
It's
teleport.
so funny
Mystic
watching
just
it from the outside, but he's just trying to.
Bruh. And then
he takes the spike.
Angel ults to get the spike, and they run it back. They run the little legs back over. I'm watching this, and my brain's melting watching it live.
Angel actually did some of the coolest shit. There was another. I didn't do the rounds for this one, but there was one where he someone was playing in B main, waiting in the smoke. I think it was maybe Xiao playing in his smoke, and he or not Xiao, but rather fucking Enzo maybe playing in his orb. I can't remember who was playing there, but he throws his TP. Threw his smoke up into tower, and then also throws the stun right after, and then TPs the same time as the stun hits and takes tower.
Yes.
It was the coolest Yoru play I've ever seen.
No, I'm going to show you that. That's round 6.
You have
yeah,
it?
but,
Okay, there,
but
cool.
I
Okay,
seriously just want to showcase to the viewers, if in case we got NA fans that didn't watch this, the next 2 rounds because they are fucking.
I thought you were
going
to say in case we have any viewers.
in case we have anybody watching. But yeah, Angel ends up winning this clutch, and these rounds that we're talking about encapsulate what I mean when I'm watching this game. There are some awesome moments. FPX have really thought about how they want to use the Yoru, but they're also making mistakes because it doesn't look like they're that practiced with it or whatever. And so you get these moments of insane genius and moments of complete papige, and they're just interwoven with each other. Look at this. Look, wind this one back to the beginning of the round, Kurt, if you wouldn't mind. Just 10 seconds. There's a stun double blast pack play, and Alfajer just jumps out. Flash to the face. Imagine if he wasn't blind. He's still jumping into potentially 3-4 people there, and he dies even if you stun them all. I'm scratching my head on some of these because they've clearly been in the lab with some set plays, but it's I feel like I'm watching, an APAC game where just the joyous whimsy just flies, and that's all anyone does is just make play after play after play, even when they're ill-advised. Yep. That's what it was like watching this game. It was fucking bonkers. You can skip to the next round, Kurt. This is the final round that I want to show from Fracture. Round 6. It's the one that you're talking about, Connor. It's the insanely cool FPX take of tower. If you remember back to Masters Reykjavik, holding on to tower control on B was the meta for how Xeta division were winning on this map. And this, to me, is the big reason why Angel is playing it on Fracture. Look at the economy for Fnatic. Shambolic. I mean, you've got double Bucky, nothing at all. Alfajer's just holding inside here. Angel puts his teleport up. They see it. Boaster sees it. He's like, guys, they're going to go for the teleport play. Here it comes, but there's nothing they can do because there's also this fault line and combo here. They're now in a 5v4 where they have tower control. FPX lose this round against Buckies and Pistols because they don't clear Boaster here at all. And Xiao is just beefing this whole match in terms of how he uses his utility. And they don't clear this position at all. There's no, what do you call it? No smoke down. So they just end up getting killed from the Jenny positions as well. And it's madness. It's absolute madness.
It'll take some time. I mean, it clearly looks inspired by the Paper X stuff on Bind. I feel a little bit.
Maybe
is where, I don't know. I
don't know how many of those will work in the future, or how people are going to get to those ones. Because when we started seeing a lot of Neon on Fracture, you can surprise us in so many ways in that sense. But with Yoru, I don't know. It wasn't strong at all. I don't know if they're going to keep that in the future.
Yeah, there was certainly a concept, right? You could see what they were going for and where they saw the strengths with it, but it didn't work that great. Durka were also playing Chamber throughout this game, which looked a little funky. We can talk about that in a bit, but going on to Acend, both teams played Fade, and it feels like Fade is becoming very meta on Acend. I mean, we saw the Fade mirror with NRG TSM, saw a Fade mirror here with Fnatic and FPX. There was a sick haunt lineup that lands up at the top of you see the breakable door there, lands on top of the wall above that door. So it scans everyone in tree and everyone playing close to the A door. It's a nasty lineup, but again, people are going to learn it and try and counter it. FPX utterly dismantled Fnatic on this map. I mean, it wasn't even close. FPX just looked like they knew how to play the map, and it was the actual FPX that had won last stage playing, instead of them playing Yoru and dicking around. It was such an astoundingly different team from map 1 to map 2. But Alfajer continued to go nuts. I mean, he just went nuts. I've got Kurt, there's like a playlist of just Alfajer B-roll. And it's just like you got like a 5K, you got like another 3K, 4K.
Yeah, on the other side, Dirk was like
wild.
below 80 ACS. I don't think we've ever seen Dirk like that, maybe once or twice tops. But yeah, he was really being counted. He was not feeling comfortable at all. I think also the way that they were using the fade, you saw sometimes that they were, we're back to Fracture.
Sorry, this is just Alfajer in general over the BO3.
It's lovely to watch again. Sometimes with the plays with fade, players were not. You could see that they were not used to the agent or how to react to the utility, especially when she throws the ult and everybody's like, if for example, there's a round, I can't remember the number, where Enzo, I believe he throws his ultimate to perform a retake, and when they drop, they check under heaven, thinking that there might be someone there when literally he just ulted, and if there was someone there might be trails, and they were like shifting around the map, and they're like you're watching from the outside like, are you sure? But in that moment it's just so complicated, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think more generally about the idea of having Alfajer take over the entry role and putting Durka on chamber? Because it felt to me like we were talking about Sire player earlier, because the guard have just made the same move, putting somebody else on entry. Obviously, Alfajer, way more talented than Jonah P. I mean, he's just nuts. He's nuts. But Durka was looking like potentially best player in the world when he was playing for Fnatic last stage. And he's not best player in the world yet, at least, on chamber.
Everybody's leaning away from Jett. Right?
Yeah,
like,
but Durka's raise was also spectacular, too.
Sure.
What do you think generally about that move?
I think it looks good because most of the teams, I mean, it's surprising to see an Acend when not only you do not play the Jett, is that you put in the race, and you want an electric player, someone that is reckless to just go on that agent and just generate the space that you want for the rest of the team. I think that Dirk said also in the interview that he really wants to just play with the operator that he's been constantly practicing to be like a very good chamber. And I think it fits for this meta at least. Alpha is going to have a great split. I don't know how things are going to advance. He has a lot of talent, but I do not know what Fnatic is going to do with it.
Yeah, the final map of the series was Icebox, and just to touch on that for one moment, Fnatic took like G2's theory of running the double, chamber, running the Killjoy as well, gives you insane levels of control on attack and defense. It's just absurd. This team has a real good sense for how to play Icebox, and I think the biggest thing that I learned from G2 in stage 1 was that this comp is goated on the box, and they didn't play it a single fucking time at Reykjavik, and I was really pissed that G2 kept moving away from Icebox at Reykjavik. It was just so silly that they wouldn't play this, because it was clearly something where they had a massive meta advantage, and now that Fnatic have picked it up, I think it looks like Fnatic are going to be the next team to perform incredibly well here. Yeah, it just looks way better than running the fade. I think it was Angel tried to run fade on Icebox. Mm-hmm. It was just getting nowhere near the same value. So to me, this series came down to, I think FPX might even be the better team, but they hard trolled their comps on map 1 and map 3.
I think they overcomplicated things a lot. I think that I understand that you were not at Masters, you want to bring in something new, you know that you're a great team, and you have some impressions from stage 1, but the Euro was too much. And first day that we had this weekend, I said I really want to see Xiao on fade, because I think it really suits him. He's a very smart player, and to me he should be the one peaking the role indefinitely for now. Yeah,
and he was the one that was playing it on Ascent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he looked fabulous. I mean, their fade utility on Ascent was superb, and it just fits the map and fits their game plan really well. But I just simply don't believe that fade is going to be meta on Icebox when the comp that Fnatic ran and G2 previously ran is bonkers on their attack and defense side. So anyway, insanely good win for Fnatic though. But when I was talking about the addition of Alfajer, and I was mauling about how Fnatic never really developed further than just having a honeymoon period, still feels like the same to me. Still feels like Alfajer came in, won them this match, and are they going to actually push any further than that?
Well, you'd say the same about the tail end of stage 1. Not when they bombed out.
No.
But like they were looking.
The tail end of stage 1 was when they started to look their best, and they've already blown it up. So, you know, like clearly that's not what they're aiming for. They're aiming for perpetual honeymoon period by always bringing in new
Just
talent.
rotating a new player every time.
I think it's taken a toll from some of the players. Like, for example, Mystic, I think he was doing way better in stage 1. Of course, it's just 1 week, but this weekend I didn't see him comfortable at all on how things were working. He was just maybe keeping to himself most of what he wanted to see out of himself. But he was just playing for the team. And actually, when it came to his individual performance, he wasn't really there. So if you want that honeymoon period, it should incorporate the rest of the team, not just 2 or 3 players being like, oh my God, we're fucking awesome, you know?
Yeah. But there's also the possibility that Durka just gets better at Chamber, and now you have 2 of the best players in Europe with Alfajer and Durka, and then this team might be unstoppable. It just kind of comes down to whether they can get Durka up back to that same level in a totally different role. Let's talk Liquid, though, again. We mentioned the Liquid match a little bit previously. Let's dig in a little more because they ran some completely different stuff. No Sliggy, but still running weird things. They had Scream IGLing from Raze, and they ran double controller as well. To me, there's like 3 cores of what they were doing, which was Scream Raze, the double controller, and then also them trying to implement Soulcast on Fade a little bit too.
They were actually the only team that won playing Fade on Icebox.
There you go.
When I was watching this match, I mean, I didn't grab any clips for it, but my general thoughts were still that it was Liquid are a team that sometimes just get by off the raw skill.
Yeah.
And it still feels that way.
No, I agree with that too. I've made a playlist of Scream's Raze, so if you wouldn't mind just going through those clips, because what did you think about Scream's Raze, kaquka, overall?
I mean, it's Scream. He shoots pretty hard. I was not like delighted or like extremely impressed just because I know that he's going to land the shots. He's a very good player. It doesn't matter what agent you put him in. Every single time that we have an interview with the Scream, he trolls us. He's like, okay, he's playing Jett. Oh my God, I love being a duelist. He's playing Skye. Oh my God, I love playing Skye because you can play Battle Skye. He's playing Sage, the same. Oh my God, Battle Sage is the best thing. So I think he's just good. It doesn't matter where you put him at, but I would not name him as one of the best races that we have in the region. I don't see myself doing that. It's just I would always rate him as one of the best players, but never mention an agent.
Yeah, he literally died of fall damage on split because he thought he was playing Jett and it could glide to the floor. I mean, that sums up a lot. He also whiffed every single ult that I saw him use. He missed a few. He didn't look.
He loves the freedom.
Yeah, he didn't look terrible, but he literally got 0 value out of all of his ultimates. Sometimes because either Twisted had hit a nasty shot on him, sometimes because he just literally missed. There were many other things, but they had put some thought into, especially on split, how they wanted to combo his nades and, you know, overall like the Raze utility with the rest of the stuff. But it doesn't look like he's a natural. No, I mean, look at this one. It's a minute on the clock. He goes for a double blast pack play up ramp. They don't know that anyone's close. I mean, there could have been someone close there, and he just dies. They literally had no info at all.
Really supplement.
No info,
Liquid
and he just goes
chaos,
for a double blast back
especially
play.
on splits. They love chaos. They work so well around it that it's just frustrating for the other team because you literally do not learn anything from them round to round.
Yeah, I mean, that play that Scream just made on the Raze as well. Like, I have seen that play out so many times before, watching them when Soulcast was playing the Raze.
Sure.
Of him just being left on an island and he just gets obliterated and goes 8 and 14.
Yeah.
And people start calling for his head. It's still the same potential problems that could come through, except this time they were able to skill diff it. Like,
I mean, what the fuck is happening? It's silly bug of Valorant.
I mean, this just sounds like it's a problem
Also,
of the system for Liquid that you were describing, kaquka, though, is that like they don't have a system at all. It's like everyone thinks they can communicate independently, which is like the ideal utopia Valorant and esports gameplay where everyone is equal, everyone has a great say, and everyone can like talk like all together and like we perfectly hive mind
in a team.
Yes. It's literally all the philosophers and Socrates walking around the pillars of Athens, right? And everyone's like, oh yes, remember when we all
they're literally out of the cave already.
But there's just no way. There's just no way. I feel like the system is probably, if we're seeing the same issues here after Scream's moved back to IGO, and though it's early, but we're still seeing the same mistakes. I don't know. Is it the system? Feels like the system.
So the thing is that we also need to think that they were against Big, who just lost, got beat, didn't win a single match in the entirety of the last stage. And to me, they seemed pretty lost in some of the scenarios. So I do not know how things are going to go next week. I think that they face against BBL.
Yes.
BBL have been looking good. They've
Yeah.
been making some cool changes. I still do not have an opinion until I see them playing against BBL. And even then, I don't know.
I mean, look,
to me, just Big wasn't there.
Dude, look at this round as well. And Nevera just bails them out. This is the thing about Liquid. They make such poor decisions or fundamental team play stuff, but their player quality is so good that they just bail themselves out of these bad situations. And I feel like they played
the double controller super well.
Yes,
super
so
well on Split.
I did want to talk about double controller a little bit too, because the double controller's taken a lot of flack, but I feel like on Split, it's genuinely viable. And the way that they play it has a lot of good points to it too. If you think about how the comp works overall, they're essentially playing an Astra instead of like a Sage, right? Like you could run the Sage there and people would be, oh yeah, normal comp.
Or another duelist.
Yeah, or another duelist. But I think, the Sage has the same kind of strength of being very like locking down a defense side kind of thing. But that's what their Astra is for. So I pulled a couple of clips where I wanted to show like the idea of it. The first round where the Astra puts the stars for a fast A take every round. So look at the minimap here. There's an Astra star in A heaven and an Astra star at screens. That's their default at the beginning of every round. So you never get an idea whether they're doing a fast A hit off the rip. You never get, as an A player, star goes down, guys, they're doing an A split. And then they get recalled in the middle of the round. And now they've got Soulcast with the ability to play double star post plant. So he can, always have a suck for the diffuse as well. Even when they did this though, it PPG'd out of control. Like for example, when they did the A hit with those Astra stars, Soulcast had placed it so that Scream walked his booty inside of it and just died. So like he was just Scream double blast backed up. I don't want to bother showing the clip, but Scream double blast backed up, like was walking along rafters, his butt enters the smoke and he dies to a player that's just hiding inside the smoke. And it's like even the good stuff they do is marred with errors too. But they have so many tools to use on their defense because they can use one-ways, they can use suck nade combos. On the defense side, there's just so much you can do with Omen and Astra on this map.
Sure, I mean,
that make it genuinely viable.
But I mean, yeah, people have been playing Viper Astra even before this.
Yeah,
in the same. But
then the Astra has to use the smokes. My point being that the Astra can
use the
occasionally use smokes, but you're mainly using the util to actually stop
the stuns and the pulls.
If you look at there's a round Kurt that I've called sucked off plant. So stupid.
Oh, this is so painful. I'm not gonna watch for this one. Is this the one with the on A? No, I don't want to watch.
Yep. So, but this is what I mean.
We saw it coming. We were in the green room, and Lothar and I held each other's hands, and we were like, "He's not going to plant there." Literally any other point on the side, and
15 seconds. There were 15 seconds left. It's big. On round 15, they're on the anti-bonus. Liquid have poor utility, poor rifles. I mean, 5 seconds left. They can plant anywhere, except there. That's the only place where you can get pulled off the plant. They're getting value out of the Astra sometimes in ways where they shouldn't because they're playing against Big and Big are making horrendous mistakes. But they're still finding good value out of it in normal rounds on their defense side too. But it's the least bonkers comp that Liquid have come up with, in my opinion. This Omen Astra. The problem is the least
and they make
bonkers.
it work. Like they legit have an idea of how they want to play it. They don't rely on you go kill yada yada. I have a couple of micros. No, they actually put a lot of thought into this map.
Yeah, they still lack the basic coordination to pull it off really well. But their game plan is good. Their actual game plan is good. But their level of coordination needs a lot of improvement. And also Yampi does end up opping quite a bit on even on their attack sides on Omen.
He's always done that. It doesn't matter if he's on Killjoy, he's on Omen. He just wants to op, and he can do it from any agent apparently.
I just have one more funny round that I want to showcase as well. Lucca seizing Link off the plant. Again, this is like the Astra Suck kind of thing, but it was using the Fade Seize. So this 20 seconds left. What the fuck is that kill, by the way? Soulcast jumping shot somebody to death. And this is Liquid coming in. 15 seconds left again. And keep your eyes on Lucca, who's just about to come here. Throws down the Seize.
No way.
Yeah, this happened.
Can't make it to the plant.
Oh my God.
And there's
he
just no
throws the
time.
spike, being like, I don't fucking want this anymore.
So, this is why I was saying at the beginning of the episode, there was lunacy this week in EMEA. Yeah. Absolute lunacy. I think it was that fucking harvest
And we're
moon.
not done yet.
I think the blood moon just...
We were going fucking demonic. EMEA was going demonic. We were just...
EMEA went crazy.
Some people made people go crazy.
Perhaps the craziest upset, though, is this final one that we want to talk about. Guild beating Mech. And before you even get a second into the server, you've got to ask the question of what the cock is going on with their maps.
Yeah.
Because it seems like Mech are trying to reintegrate Haven by the look of things, right?
Reintegrate, let's call it integrate, because they've never been able to play it. So you cannot reintegrate something that was never integrated.
This is the first time they've lost on Haven, though. They were 3-0 before this, and now that they try and play a normal comp, they lose. Having said that, though, what a bad time to try and integrate Haven, because Guild are going to... I mean, Guild are probably the best team in EMEA on Haven. Yeah, I think they probably are. They're nasty good on Haven. They've been good
London
at it all
was very
stage
good.
one.
Like when they came in on stage 1, they came in with a 11-0 streak. So, but yeah, that was broken. Still, I think that what Meg tried to do is, you know, when teams start at the beginning of the stage and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna ban. We play every map. We just ban for our opponent. The only team that successfully did that was FPX, and they actually won the entire thing. So probably knowing that they had more time since they didn't make it out of playoffs, they were like, okay, let's try and play it. Let's try to see what we have to do. And apparently, with a more prepared comp, it's not working. So just put Redguard back on Reyna.
Yeah. I want to start with, Redguard Reyna is the key to victory, actually, on that map. Oh, he played Jett one of the times as well.
Yeah, it was Reyna and Jett were the 2 times. That's fucking
It's just
crazy.
ludicrous. It really is. So I want to start with Haven, actually. Let's begin there, because that was the weird map. It's obviously just a roll. I mean, the first half is 10-2, but take a look at some of the stuff that ended up happening. I mean, if you look at the bonus round for Guild in round 3, you'll have an idea about what was happening. All throughout this series, I mean, Guild just looked super confident here on Haven. They had a great idea of what they want to do. They have good execs. They go here fast on B. Mech ended up playing retake almost all of the rounds because they were just scared to challenge and couldn't get a read for where they were going or what was happening. And their players were losing duels as well. The Mech players were just not fragging today. Yeah. They played really badly individually.
That was my takeaway watching it. Was uninspiring was the word I was going to use to describe it, because sometimes they were just late to trade stuff. They were losing duels in the first place, which you just don't really expect out of the caliber of the players. I don't know. Sometimes it gets in your head as well, like you're playing something that you know you're not good at, and it makes you it just affects every faculty of your gameplay.
That's why they needed to lean into the Redguard Reyna. Like the counter to a lack of confidence is whimsy.
Yeah, it is. It's unbelievable amounts of confidence that you don't deserve.
You're just like, oh well, we're going to lose anyway. Let's just run at them.
Let's just run at them.
But
yeah,
they actually tried to play a thinking man's game, and they outthought themselves.
Yeah.
I think the other takeaway from this for me was, despite the stats, Chronicle had a terrible series. Absolutely terrible.
Oh, terrible. It's not only that. On Haven specifically, it looked like the only way that Mech could get around is if Chronicle got a 4K. And we all know that Mech in defense is something else. Like, they have pretty strong defaults. For some reason, they expected Haven to be on that same box for them, but it wasn't. And the problem with only getting 2 rounds on the defense is that when you get to the attack, there's literally no room for you to make any single mistake. And in a map that you haven't played before in an official, seriously, let's go like that, there's not much that you can do. But they decided to leave it open. They decided that it was the time to try it. But against Guild, as you said, Josh, I don't think that it was the way to go.
Even in that situation here, right? And it's a close round. The Mech end up losing it. Leo played a blinder of a game on Haven. He played fantastically. But to start this round, you have Chronicle anchoring C. Inside his rendezvous, he can get away. He can get away to back CT. I mean, look where it's positioned, at the back of Garage. But he gets the first kill onto Trex, and then he just holds his ground inside the jet smoke and tries to swing again. And he goes down instead of just repositioning, playing his life. If you want to, if we take things back to Acend, though, that's where they lose the series, because if they win that map, maybe they can still win map 3, and seems fine. But Chronicle, again, just had so many mistakes. If you want to open this one up, take a look at the mini-map. That's what I want to draw your attention to. Chronicle is just walking in through Catwalk, through Alarm Bot, Nanoswarm, and dies to Trex. He just walks in while there's a fight happening in mid and dies first death at the beginning of the round. And this happened over and over when they were on the defense side as well. They just were losing Chronicle so early on when he was trying to playmake. And Guild were able to read what was happening and adapt to it. Now that they've dealt with Chronicle, they can fully focus on mid. And even though this one goes down to a 2v2, Mecha, you know, they're good enough to make these rounds close. There's no hope once Coldamenta fakes backside and they're just able to pick off Nats here. There's another round as well, which you saw a glimpse of earlier. KO ult is online. Nats is literally holding in their spawn on defense to avoid getting KO ulted so he can still use his suck at B main. And Chronicle's holding in
main. Rendezvous.
Chronicle's holding in B. Look, Chronicle's holding in B main here. He has Nats smoke to play off. So Nats is in spawn. So in theory, Nats can pop a smoke here if Chronicle gets the first pick. And he gets, if Chronicle gets suppressed there, but he kills Trex, he can get out into that smoke in B main. That's the idea of Nats holding that fire in spawn. But Chronicle whiffs the first kill and can't rendezvous away. And obviously, if you don't get the kill, they're not going to let you just run back into the smoke. So for whatever reason, the mech players played horribly. And they also misplayed the map pool. And it just led to a catastrophic loss. I think this is easily the worst loss that mech have had. And that's including, like, you know, the loss to, FPX, or even the loss to, you know, low bracket game against G2 or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that also there's a problem in mech, and it's obviously in the attack on most of the maps, and especially when they decided to mostly run for Breeze, and they were like, yeah, I don't care that I end up in a 9-3. I know that I'm going to win this map because we're so reliant on what we can do on the defense, and we know the CIS teams are extremely slow on the attack. The problem is that Guild had done their homework super, super well. We had seen how Navi had been playing also in the previous day, and they were literally just waiting for that. Like, they were not giving anything away. And actually a couple of rounds where mech was just running onto side. Sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't, but they cannot rely on a coin flip on every single attack.
There have been rumors. There's actually one final round if you want to just showcase this one, which I've just labeled Chronicle and Shados awful, because it was... I mean, it was just, I mean, look at this in A. So Chronicle whiffs again, dies first again, and now Shados is anchoring on Heaven, and I've never seen Shados do this. Look at this. So he gets a player tagged up, he's spamming, and he's like, fuck it, I'm swinging, I'm killing this guy, and he just whiffs every shot and puts himself out into a position where, you know, even if he gets a kill on Shados, he's dying there to someone else on Guild. But he's just, they're in their own heads, they're fucking heated, they're mad, they're losing, and they end up making terrible mistakes like this, and it's uncharacteristic. And I wanted to pose this question too. There have been rumblings. Well, obviously they wouldn't have been able to attend Reykjavik even if they had qualified. We don't know whether they're going to be able to attend Copenhagen, Istanbul, whatever. We don't have that level of insight into the legalities of it, like visa stuff. There've also been rumblings about their players being traded to a different organization because they can't compete as Gambit. There have been rumblings about them making roster moves as well, potentially unrelated. Do you think there's a world where this is a psychological thing that's just going to batter them all through stage 2 because they're dealing with so much bullshit outside of the game?
Yeah. I mean, it's all compounding at once.
Do I? I don't know. I think we've only seen one match of them, and they played terribly. If they instantly rebound, okay, you just had a bad day, right? Happens to everyone, you had a bad day. If this happens over the course of the whole of stage 2, though, I could see that being a potential reason, which is that they can't even achieve their goals even if they met them, like FPX. And there are also, you know, potential, like, stirrings happening within the team. They're thinking about franchising and thinking about, oh fuck, our 2022 year might be getting taken away from us. I can imagine that would have a psychological impact for sure.
I mean, also the fact that they were looking like, I mean, they were looking very good in terms of
FPX.
heading into Reykjavik, and obviously the circumstances mean they had to play so many matches in a row just to even, you know, stand a chance in it. But then the fashion they went out to, where did they go out to in a lower bracket to
the G2.
To G2, right? Yeah,
I think.
And then
I think so, yeah.
I think they probably looked at that with everything going on as well. Like, they had a much harder path of things, and even if they did make it, there was no chance that they could really fly, as far as I know.
Well, I'm not even sure that they knew at the time, honestly.
Right, they didn't know at the time.
Because I don't think FPX knew either.
But all the circumstances aside,
they did.
Oh, they did?
They did?
So they
And
were
we,
probably
like,
looking at.
yeah.
They were probably looking
Some
at
of us
Reykjavik.
knew from like the beginning of the weekend that FPX was not going to make it,
Right.
even if they
So-
won. And they for sure knew.
Yeah. So they were probably looking at that entire circumstance like, man, we probably should have been there to actually showcase, and they probably feel like they've missed a big chunk of a section of the year of the VCT season, which I think is going to affect it alongside, again, the insecurities, the uncertainties that I don't know, moving forwards. Week 2 is going to be a big tell for me watching Mech, because they're up against a familiar opponent, because the CIS teams are pretty familiar with each other. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Why did you say no so quickly, kaquka? Like, do you think this is purely like an in-game, just bad day kind of vibe?
I think so, yeah. I think that especially in the fashion that they left playoffs, probably this. I especially knowing that it's week 1, we need to also put in a balance how much this is Meg being bad or Guild being good, because maybe this is going to just happen against Guild, and Guild is going to pull out a Fnatic and literally just win all the matches. It didn't look solid at all on Haven, but on Ascend, there's things that they can work on, and we all know that Meg are going to put that work in. So I don't know. I think it's just too soon.
Yeah, it definitely is too soon to draw any serious conclusions because it's only week 1. So let's do some match predictions where we draw conclusions after week 1.
Yeah.
Let's do that. All right, getting into things here. There aren't many banging matches, to be honest.
No,
happening
Kurt
next
warned
week.
us before we headed into
Yeah,
this
Kurt
one.
did say it was a snooze fest.
He warned us. He said it was a bit of a snoozer.
Yeah, so I might go rogue here and start punting
Changing
on some
your
underdogs.
preds.
See, but if you're going rogue, then it eliminates some of the value of you going rogue, because you've already stated you're going rogue.
Well,
you've
no,
already let
I'm-
us know.
I'm pondering my options, okay? As they
You're
come
gonna
up,
see where
we'll
it
see.
goes.
But you've already
Okay.
poisoned the well. Now I know whatever choice you made could have been made under influence of you wanting to go rogue.
Oh, no. I will say, all of mine are super standard. I might change them, like, on the fly right now. I'm thinking, I'm pondering, okay? Anyway, match 1. Oglu versus Fnatic. Possibly the worst brand
Red Bull
merger
OG
I've ever seen.
London United.
The Red Bull OG London United, Oglu.
Yep.
They should have some kind of home ground advantage when they play on Icebox.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Oglu sounds like a troll. Sounds like the name of a troll.
We've all gone for Fnatic here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
anybody want to take a punt?
No.
No?
Nah.
No,
I'm not taking a punt on Oglu.
can't take it.
It ain't happening. I mean, Alfajer just looked too fucking good. He just did. And yeah, I mean, I don't think Fnatic played an incredible game. I think there was a lot of messy shit going on there, but they played well enough to be able to beat FPX. They'll be good enough to beat London. All right, next game. Okay,
London was also the only team that beat FPX last stage.
Yeah.
True. I don't know why that
Just
would be
saying.
relevant for their game against Fnatic, particularly.
Just saying, okay? Direct comparison.
All right, well, let's talk Fnatic. Sorry, let's talk FPX. FPX playing against G2. Actually, I said there wasn't a banger. This is a banger.
This is a banger.
Yeah.
Seed 3 against Seed 1. I'm changing it. Kurt, I'm changing it. I'm
No,
fucking changing
I
it.
mean-
This is where I'm going for it, because I actually don't even think that this is unreasonable. I went back and forth on this myself a little, and I'm amazed, frankly, that everybody went for FPX, because their performance in the Fnatic game was little troll. I mean, playing the Yoru, playing the Fade, stuff like that. Are they just going to go back to normal comps within a week? Maybe.
No, they're going to stick with it, and they're going to improve it and refine it.
There's
I
no
mean, I
way
don't
they're
think
gonna
this
play
is
Yoru
sticking to
again.
normal comps. I think that the only thing that they should change is that Yoru. That is not that big of a change, Like swapping just one agent shouldn't be like that huge of a difference.
Yeah, I don't like their Icebox comp either, though. And I think if they end up leaving Icebox in this against G2, they'll just suffer the same fate that they did against FPX, where they end up. I mean, G2 are just nasty on that map. Presumably, actually, I don't know what map FPX would ban. I mean, it would make sense to try and take Icebox out of there, but I don't really know what they would opt
Maybe
for.
bind. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Either way, I was relatively impressed by G2's performance against who did they play this week? Focus, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they Focus are a dangerous team, and they shut them down. The Focus didn't look incredible. Yugi, Lewis didn't pop off. G2 just
I think
had
it was the
control on it.
closest match that we had, even though it was a 2-0, it was one overtime in a 13-11. I think that, for a first contact, knowing that they're in the group of death. I think it was pretty good. And also when we finished the game, in the interview that we had with G2, they showed like a lot of respect. You know how G2 is? And in this case, they were like, no, Focus is a super good team. This was a very hard matchup and they're going to smash.
No, I agree with that perspective from G2, and that's why I think I rate G2 for beating them. You know, I wouldn't rate G2 for beating like a terrible team, but I think Focus is good, and they managed to get out on top of that, and they actually showcased some interesting stuff, like Nookie playing on the Neon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm down for a G2 punt here. Let's go into the next one then. We're talking Focus. Focus, this team go up against Acend. This is a lot of firepower on either side. Everyone's gonna send again.
Yeah. No,
I
was waffling. I'll go rogue for you because I was waffling on this one between Focus or Ascend. I'll go rogue for you.
No.
Put me to
I'll
Focus.
go rogue.
I'll go rogue now.
No. You can
I think
stay
it
with
can happen.
I'll swap my pred.
Do you actually
Too late.
want
I've
to?
already done it. I'm already
You wanna
focused.
swap
Connor
the
can
You
be
can
the
join me.
well, we've already done it. We might as well keep it.
There you
Yeah.
go.
We've already done it. We swapped it.
I think there is upset potential here.
I hate agreeing with Josh.
Okay, well, tell me why you favor Ascend. Maybe you'll
I
put me
think
off.
they just look stronger. They look too good. I think that is going to be a hard one, and I really hope that is going to go to 3 maps. I am not 100% sold on Ascend yet, but I think that they should be good enough to at least beat Focus.
Yugi v CNED would be a banging matchup if Yugi actually, pops off like he previously has done as well. Had a bit of a slow game against G2 compared to how he was just rampaging through everybody else, but that would be a fun one. Now we head into the 2 snoozers, in my opinion, of the week. It's BBL Liquid is coming up here, and I think this is a little snoozy. Oh, Bren's going BBL. All right, talk to me then.
What do you mean?
Why are you going BBL?
I think they're a good team. Liquid are currently playing some cap comps, and they're playing I don't know. It's the same problems that are being highlighted with them trying to brute force through skill, and I don't think that's going to work against a team that has Kushner, who's fucking dominating in a moment. And I mean,
Aslan and Chamber was something else.
The fuck off as well.
I
I
think
think
Chamber was something else.
BBL was a team that I like in stage 1 prior. When I was doing like my preview of the team, I was like, wow, this team's got a lot of potential. And I think since then, there's been so much uncertainty of a lot of EMEA teams heading into stage 2 that this is a prime opportunity for them to actually just scoot up the groups. Whereas prior they were 1-4, I think, in stage 1. I think.
Yeah. Did
They
they
only
only
got the
beat
one win.
Big?
But they've always shown promise, I think, and they're like
BBL,
mechanically
they beat,
they're very
SMB as well.
talented.
Oh, they beat SMB. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
And so I see this as a great opportunity for them to take a win against a team Liquid that is just playing the most wacky shit. I mean,
the double controller is good on split.
It's better than when they were running the Brim and
The Brim Omen. They were
That
running
was
Brim
fucking-
Omen. Yeah, Brim Omen.
Brim Omen is
But the-
poo.
But that was dog shit.
Omen's
Astro
all right.
actually has some utility you can use on a global basis, so
Yeah.
you get a pass at that. But in general, I think that if they try and get away with, again, it's just when the going gets rough, when they don't execute their ideas that they have, I don't think they're going to get away with it against a team like BBL.
I believe in Oz. I believe in Oz, the man behind the curtain. Don't know who they are. Don't know if they're a man. But I believe in Oz, the grand wizard of Liquid.
It's me.
Just a
It's you?
traveling analyst
Yeah.
that's
Imagine.
going around to teams that just moves to each area and patrons it for a little bit with Valorant knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, also, are Liquid's comps more or less cap than FPX's though recently?
Less.
Less, probably.
I think so.
Less.
I think less than the Yoru.
Less than the...
I actually quite like that comp, I'm not going to lie.
The Yoru had some good
True,
qualities.
the Yoru did
I
have-
quite
yeah,
like
Yoru
the
actually
comp.
had
That-
ideas with
It
yeah.
had some moments of brilliance. It just had some moments of papige as well. But yeah,
If
okay.
they refine it, they're wiping the next
Cool.
team that they go up against on it.
Next game is the genuine snoozer, though. There's no way anyone's taking a punt on this one. Big Guild. Big V Guild. Anyone? No, all with Guild. I don't even see a potential of an upset here. Guild are looking clean.
They look good.
Yeah, I think Trex is a fucking monster. He just keeps looking better every time I watch him. And Leo's fabulous too. All right, moving on then. This final game could be a low-key good one. Mech in the past have struggled against, like other CIS teams, more so even when they were at their peak. They're playing against Na'Vi coming up this week. Na'Vi haven't been great, but Mech stumbled a little too. Everyone's gone
Are
with
you
Mech
doing it,
here.
Josh?
No, I'm not going to do it. But
Yeah, I'm not.
kaquka, do you think there's a chance of an upset here, or do you think this is just an immediate bounce back for Mech?
I think it's going to be a bounce back. I think when we think about CIS, it's Meg, FPX, and then the rest. Like the comparison is big, and I just don't see it happening.
I do enjoy watching Na'Vi. Like, they've got some talented players, but they still feel quite a way away from putting things together into being a really top team. I fucking hope Mech win this, though. I can't.
Yeah, I want to bounce
my
back.
heart
If it's
simply
not-
cannot handle it. Yeah. My heart could not handle
2 losses in a row.
Mech breaking to pieces.
Yeah.
I'm fine with Sentinels dying. I'm fine with, old 100 Thieves and TSM. I'm fine with G2.
Those
shitting the bed.
are all North. Okay, you put a European team. I was about to say those are all
I'm
North
fine with
American
G2,
teams.
but
You're saying.
listen, you say that
I-
because
I gave up even on FPX at the wrong time, exactly at the wrong time, just as they rebounded and got good again. But I can't give up on Mech.
it's because we've seen such high peaks.
Yeah,
from
I
them.
know.
Yeah.
It hurts. Wyatt's Weekly Award is the final segment here. Thank you. My transitions have become so low effort. I've essentially just given up with any segue ability, and I've just read the title of the next thing that we're going to. It is, of course, our final, the most important segment.
Oh. Shit. I shit myself.
that was so fucking funny. I don't know.
I'll get Sky in the
Just
audio.
Not a clue. Does it have
Yeah,
audio?
you can't really hear the audio very well from the
Dude,
the remote.
he's stirring the
segment, so-
pot and he just makes a mistake or something and he says shit and then he looks at the camera and says I shit myself. I don't know why. It's just anyway, Chili Award. Why? Just stop giggling. What's silly about that?
The thing what's so funny too is that it's such a like looking into the past with Wyatt because it's like before he went full e-boy as well.
Yeah.
So it's like before he moved to the big city and abandoned his values, before all then.
There is only one person that is deserving of the award this week, one who stood up above the rest. And I just have to give it to Alfajer. I mean, he went utterly stupid. A lot of people, when they go from tier 2 to tier 1, you're wondering, are we going to get the same performances out of them? And for Alfajer, you didn't just get the same performances, you got even better against better competition. Against the team that won stage 1 in EMEA, he crushed them in the palm of his hand.
Holy shit.
He
look
averaged
at the
300
fucking
ACS.
numbers.
It's just
At
absurd.
16
Fucking
years of
ADR
age.
is just insane.
Yeah,
At
it is.
16 years of age.
I mean, by the way, Trex and Zeke both had incredibly good weeks too.
Yeah.
Trex went crazy. Leo went crazy, both for Guild as well. But yeah, Alfajer went wild on 2 very different roles. One straight up just won rounds for Fnatic that they otherwise wouldn't have won. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say that if they had been playing with, if you had gotten an average performance out of some tier 2 player in Alfajer's position, Fnatic probably lose that game.
Which we've gotten in some other teams with the changes. And we were like, yeah, we're cutting them some slack because, it's the first week going against the bigger names and also, fitting into the team, knowing that especially Fnatic has been one of the teams with the least time to actually make those changes and make it work.
Yeah, but he came out the gates and pounded. And I suppose partially this award would go to Mini as well, the coach of Fnatic, who continues to be probably the best
Scouting
scout
king.
in the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly within EMEA, the best scout in EMEA, because he just keeps picking up banger after banger. The honeymoon never ends when you're with Mini. It just keeps cycling through that talent, baby. We'll get a trophy eventually in Fnatic's wardrobe. The wardrobe? Why would you put one there?
Yeah, that's where you keep
Cupboard?
your trophies.
Cupboard?
In the wardrobe where they're hidden. So you can't
Do you
show
want to
them
tell us
to
something
people.
before you get married tomorrow?
Okay. That does it for our episode this week. It was a long one, but
It
honestly,
was a good one.
not our longest.
No, you've done longer.
We were actually
Halla-
really good today. We were
Hallelujah.
really
We actually
This is a
got
short
through it
one
all.
by comparison.
So next week we're going to talk EMEA, North America, APAC, Brazil. We're going to
It's just a 24-hour streamathon. What do they call it? Subathon? We do
It's going to be a
member-a-thon.
podathon.
yeah,
Do you guys
we'll
have something prepared for the 100 shows?
we're
When is
well,
100th
we're well
show?
past that, aren't we?
Is it?
Are you?
No,
No,
I didn't think we were.
What are we
Josh,
on?
you literally read the
Oh, it's
episode
91.
number at the
91.
beginning.
Dude,
We're
we
not,
gotta
we
think
have
of an
9
idea.
episodes. We got 9 episodes.
Do you know what date that would be? What is 9 weeks from today? Just off the top
2
of
months
everyone's
and
head.
1 week.
Okay, yeah,
So-
thank you for that. I mean, what? How does that
Anytime.
help me? 1, 2. Oh, yeah, bring up a
Tuesday,
calendar.
July 19th.
Wait, does that clash
That's
with?
hot.
Is that Copenhagen?
Is that Copenhagen?
I don't know.
We got the dates, no?
Do
for
we have the
Copenhagen?
dates?
So it's 5 more weeks. So sorry, 4 more weeks plus playoffs.
Playoffs
So
is like
maybe
2 weekends,
Yep.
and then there's a break.
Oh, we need to. I mean, we just simply have to be co-streaming that. No. Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe they're going to do a dark day. Maybe the dates will perfectly line up so
With-
that there's a
with there
dark
being a
day
dark
and we
day.
can record an episode.
Yep.
And we
You
can
are- oh,
party
Actually,
poppers and.
let's fly out the fans. Let's get everyone into Copenhagen. We'll all go to Copenhagen.
Dude, if Copenhagen has live crowd, we
Yep.
could do a
We'll
fan
hire
event.
a venue next to the venue, and we'll do our own stream, and you can all come there.
We could have
Bleed into
the person who's had the worst pred so far in the event just get pied.
Yeah. Yeah. What if it's
Yeah.
me?
Do it.
Why would that
You're
be a
getting
problem?
pied. Are
I have to
are you
get-
immune to getting
I
pied?
thought you meant pied in terms of they'd have to solo the show. I don't know. When you use the
what
term
do you
pied.
mean pie? You
When
get
you use
hit
the
with a
term
pie.
pied, it's like a UK thing where like, oh, you've been pied off. It's like you've been pushed off to the side. You've been excluded out
Right,
of something.
right.
And so when you said that,
So
I
you-
immediately thought the person with the worst preds has to run a solo show in front of a live audience while everyone else just sits and watches. I don't know why my brain went there.
You just invented this.
Yeah, it's like a nightmare scenario. It's like you look down, you're naked, and you're just like, oh, fuck, I'm going to do a presentation at school.
This went off the rails. This is supposed to be the outro, and you're talking about getting naked in front of schools. You need to stop. My man needs to stop. Pied, UK
vintage
slang.
dumped or abandoned.
there you
It's so sad that you know the meaning of this.
Do
Bren.
people abandon pies in the UK?
No,
No.
it's like it was when I was like at school. People would say, "Oh, he's been pied off." Or
It
whatever.
basically means
No,
it's like you've been, had a pie shoved in your face, like you've been clowned on. You know, it
I
doesn't
see,
literally
I
mean
see.
that you've turned into
Okay,
a clown
I
or
see.
someone has,
The
there's
UK
world
is a
of metaphor and
beautiful
analogy.
place. It's a beautiful
not.
place.
I was
a
there
beautiful
recently.
language.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we'll see you
I've
again.
developed a deep hatred of the British since I've been back. And just end the show.
End it. End this show.